don't ask now, I'll tell you what I need. Oh, Black Creek.
How about that, Sugar Shane?
Good song.
Nice little intro there for Mr. Brent Cobb with the Black Creek.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
I like that. I'll take it. Huh?
Yeah.
What a weekend, man. What a weekend we have going on here. We had the FTR race going on. We had A1 going on.
Hey, what episode is this?
16.
How funny.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence on one of the great guests that we have here in the Legends Room. We've got a couple cool cats with us. Know a few things about dirt bikes, and we've had a weekend that I think everybody has a little experience to talk about with all the different things that we got to do this weekend. But we're going to start them off right now. I'm your host, RJ Huss. We got our co-host, Mr. Sugar Shane. How about this? We got Tyler Bright, Austin Kent, and then the 16.
Yes, sir.
Zach Osborne. How about that?
Yeah, I'm here for it.
What a weekend, man. We got to go race some FTR this weekend at Florida Trail Riders. Zach raced, TB raced, I raced, Shane raced. Austin was there supporting all of us, making sure all the bikes were dialed in the whole time, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe the cooler was dialed in. Maybe the bikes were dialed in. One or the other.
Definitely dialed in.
Hey, did you steal my tire gauge?
No, I never did.
Oh,
I promise you.
Definitely
It was a
not.
fork pressure gauge. That's what you need to be watching for.
It's my nice Motion Pro tire gauge is gone.
Nah, it definitely wasn't me.
I'm pretty sure I saw you pocket it.
He sold it. RJ sold it to pay me my $100 from last night.
Oh, we're going to stop this right now.
Oh, dang.
We're going to stop it.
Crispy.
There it is.
Only one making money today.
We're trying to throw it away already so early.
That's what it looks like, Kent.
That's what it does. Never seen one of those before, I promise you that.
Well,
Not working for Coop. No, do like 10s and 20s. That's it.
Exactly.
maybe some 5s and 1s. Probably a lot of 1s. Well, we're going to talk about all that stuff, but getting into it, man. But episode 16, you're right, Sugar Shane. Grateful to have all you guys here. TB got to race the FTR yesterday. Zacho, you raced it today. Sugar Shane and I raced it. Austin, you came around both days to be able to be there for the boys and get to hang out the whole time. So that was super cool. We also had A1 this weekend, which obviously A1 is always a mystery. We tried our hand in the Future MX Radio League, had the Pulp MX platform to do the fantasy site, and
Dead last.
you and I suck.
Yeah, dead last, and then you got one position ahead of me.
Yeah, second to last. Yeah.
Well, Shane technically didn't play. He just picked some guys and let them roll.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I've never done it, so I don't know how it works.
Well, we'll
I
get
learned now.
we'll get into all that.
That's normally a better position from my experience. Like the ones who don't know.
Not knowing.
They're just
Okay.
like, oh, this guy.
I mean, I know the players, or the riders, but I didn't know that you could switch them up at last minute and all that. Whatever.
Well, we'll get into
Oakland, I'm back in the game. Don't worry.
We'll get into the fantasy stuff at the very end of the episode. But I do want to say, this morning, I get a phone call from Shane. It's probably like 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Hey man, did you watch the race? I'm like, I'm watching it right now. He was like, is 92 points good? I'm like, no.
That's how oblivious I was.
No, it's not good. It's not good at all.
I was excited on my 92 points, and then he's like, you know what, Zach got 200 and something. I was like, yeah.
That's a
good.
fluke, though. Like, I don't think I've ever scored that much in a round. No, I've never had any results that were, like, worthy of writing home about.
I came in here today, and I was like, I have a feeling Zach's going to be $1,700 richer by the end of the season.
No, my 450 picks weren't that great, actually.
Yeah. Well, when I had, I think 5 out of my 8 didn't even make the main.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
That hurts.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into the fantasy stuff, but Zach, I do want to talk. You're here, and I greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here. I know you just got done racing today and doing everything with the FTR, but overall, I mean, your career as a whole, I know it's been documented. I know you've talked about it, but for the people that are listening to our episode that don't necessarily know Zach Osborne personally, take me through coming from the amateur ranks, turning pro, what was it, 06?
Yep.
KTM 06?
Yep.
Go into that phase and tell me what was that transition like for you?
Mega tough. Obviously, I was a really decorated amateur rider. Had all the support, all the sponsors, all the things, Turned pro in 06 as a 16-year-old. My first race was Daytona, actually. I don't know
Yep.
why, but made the main there, and that was kind of the goal when I went there, was like to get in the main. I don't really know why that was the goal, but
Yep.
I was going to race outdoors the full season in 06, so that was like an icebreaker for me, I guess you would say. And made the main, got 14th, and kind of set me kind of in motion for the outdoors. Went to the first race at Hangtown and got 6th in the first outdoor moto, so that was solid. Second moto crashed and broke my clutch off, and that was literally the only result I had for the whole summer. Just struggled with injuries, little niggling things. I hurt my thumb, and just really struggled overall, and that bled into 2007, which bled into 2008, and off to Europe I went.
Well, before we go to Europe, I believe it was Budds Creek 06.
Yeah.
So Tyler Kasha, our producer that does our audio and produces the show and puts everything up on YouTube and platforms. Thank you so much, Tyler Kasha. Plug. Did you hear that? Thank you.
He's not for hire.
He was at Budds Creek in
Okay.
06. And I believe you were leading or led a lot of laps in that race.
Yeah, I think I led close to 20 minutes of the race, and then I didn't score points. So that's how heavy the fade was from, first to 20th is normally a lap, right? Like from the lead to point scores really close to a lap normally. So
Yeah.
I went from leading to not scoring points, which meant I was basically a lap down. The fade was heavy. That opened up a Pandora's box of health issues and things that I didn't know were wrong with me. And, hindsight's 20/20, but at the end of the day, we're here now with the career that I've had and I'm still having, and I really wouldn't change much about it.
Yeah. So you go through, you said 06, 07, 08, and then that sends you over to Europe. What's it like in Europe? I mean, living there.
Well, how did the decision get made to go to Europe? Did you just have a ride, or you just had a better deal over there? How did
No,
that
so in
get chosen?
2008, I had nothing. My KTM deal was severed for no apparent reason, really. I had a 2-year deal with them to race 07 and 08, and they were just like, yeah, you're fired, basically. So in 08, I rode for Yamaha Troy. I was on no salary, bonuses only, but I got hurt at the first round of Supercross, broke my scapula at A1, and I had an apartment with my buddy Michael Willard in Corona, and there was a Mimi's Cafe down the street, and I went there pretty much every day. And one day I walked in there, and I saw a guy I knew, Rob Walters, Doc Wobbs, as he's known now. He had been my goggle guy for Smith when I was a little kid, and I was sitting by myself, as I did, every day, like I said. And he was like, hey, come sit with us. So I went over and sat with him and 2 friends. Ash Kane, who was the manager of the team I ended up on in Europe. This was in January, like second week of January, and they were like, oh, you should come do some GPs. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, it's the last thing that's going to happen right now. Like, I'm hurt, and I don't have a job. I don't have any money. Like, nothing's going right. So, yeah, sweet. That sounds really fun, like, whatever. And sure enough, like, that summer, they had a bunch of guys hurt, and I was hurt also, but they were wanting me to come, and I cut my cast off, rode once, and went there, and yeah, rest is history.
So talk about the whole thing about living in Europe, though. I don't know if people here that don't get to travel much or go overseas or anything. I mean, living there, being there. I mean, fairly similar, not similar at all.
So I was extremely fortunate to land where I landed. I did a lot of time in Europe when I was a kid. Probably close to at least 6 months, probably close to a year as a child, as a young man in Europe. So it made it a lot easier for me to transition. But when I went there, I was on a British team. Everyone spoke English. Everything was pretty easy for the most part. It wasn't like I was in the south of France where no one spoke English and the weather was terrible, whatever. So I was extremely fortunate to land on the team that I did. And the Pocock family took me in as their 5th son, and it was, it's actually a life that I still miss today. Like when we went back last summer, it's, I can drive straight to the house from the airport, not need the maps or anything. It's just so natural to me. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, in today's world, like some of the guys that we do know, like I could tell you right now, Aiden can't even make it through an airport. So trying to have him go overseas and live in a different country, I mean, that's something that I don't even know if I could fathom.
Yeah, and he's talking about like right around the same age as Aiden is now,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, it was my last chance at motocross, period. Like, that was the end. So there was no, I didn't really give a crap what it was. I didn't care if it was, wherever. I didn't care. I was going there to race and have fun. And I just landed with a group of guys who were super passionate about racing. There was no corporate, if I told my boss I needed pink plastic for the weekend, he was going to get me some pink plastic. And it was just cool to see that they were like there for me, whereas before all the situations I had been in, it was just so corporate and so, I don't know, the racing here is different. Like, there it's more pure racing. Now maybe it's not so much, but back then it was just straight pure racing. We all camped together during the week. We all rode together. Everybody was friendly, whereas here it's just like this, these little boxes and cliques and stuff. And that's maybe why I struggled when I came back a little bit more than I felt like I should have when I was on Geico, is because I left this corporate world, found this awesome little nook that was like me down to the ground, and then I was thrust back into the corporate world, and it just it was almost like flashbacks for me. It was
how long was that time in Europe?
I was there so I went in August of 2008, and I came home at the end of 2012 season, so 4.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was that long.
Yeah, I mean, we were here, for some winters and stuff, and I would normally come back like at the beginning of November and go back in the beginning of February, so 3 months kind of thing here.
Yeah.
And then plus, on top of that, racing GPs takes you pretty much all over the world.
Yeah, it wasn't as global then as it is
wasn't?
now.
Okay.
I think the furthest one we did went to Brazil a couple times, which was pretty cool. Russia, Turkey, but we didn't do any of those. Malaysia or Indonesia or
Dubai.
No, none of the cool ones.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things, was going to the strange places,
Yeah.
My mom loves to travel, and my now wife, then girlfriend, was in school, and all the weird ones were at the beginning of the season, so my mom went to all the weird places with me. Yeah. And then my wife did the summers with me.
So TB at this time, we're talking, you said what, 08 through 12?
Yeah.
You're pro at this point? 08?
I turned pro 2006, Butts Creek.
And then, so this whole duration, you're in America racing.
Yeah.
Me and TB banged bars a couple times during that period at Asheville and Morristown and local arena cross series up in.
Do you guys have beef right now, or
no?
You guys over it?
I think the first time I saw TB was maybe 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
Known him forever.
Yeah.
He probably don't like the story, but he had a he had a helmet whenever he was a kid, and obviously the back of his jersey said bright and the helmet said not so.
No,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
He says that all the time. Not so bright.
Yeah.
All the time.
I remember Zach's old mechanic Al gave me the nickname Biggin.
Yeah,
I
Biggin.
was like 8 or 9 years old in the 60s. It was random. It was like on the start gate somewhere. He came up and he's like, I'm going to name you Biggin. Nickname you Biggin.
It's hard to find people that T. Bright hasn't banged bars with.
Yeah.
Honestly. It's crazy.
T. Bright been around the block a little bit.
Well,
here,
I mean, like where we're from is kind of a hotbed, like a low-key hotbed. If you go back through like the ranks, especially of really good privateer dudes, Summy, Horton, Nice, Chester, like all those guys are from our area. So I've seen a dang lot of people that have been at a high level of racing race in those little bull rings. And
so when you're talking about that area, you're talking about the Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina, Virginia. He's from Lexington, North Carolina, about 3 hours from where I'm from, in Abingdon, Virginia, Bristol, Tennessee, all those places. So
Yeah.
Charlotte.
Yeah, there was a huge group of us back then. I remember we had Les Smith, Taylor Futrell, you, Stroop, Treadle, PJ. There was a big group of us. So, I mean, you look back and think, if you're a local guy there racing and you're racing with them every weekend, and then you check the results at the amateur nationals and they're winning, it gives you an idea like, hey, maybe something can happen here, Because it wasn't like we were all riding, the same tracks every week or weekend out.
Yeah.
So we'd go to the local tracks on the weekends, race, and then Zach, Futrell, all them, they'd go win Texas, Vegas. I don't know if you ever did Mammoth, but
I've never been to Mammoth somehow.
And then obviously Loretta's too, and Videos.
So Kent, at this time, you're welding and fabricating at this time?
Yeah, that's when I met Tyler.
Blue collar Kent.
Yeah,
over
blue
here.
collar.
Hell yeah.
When was the first time you ever met Zacho?
I'm Probably at a race at
Like
some
Motorcycle Superstore Suzuki.
point. Yeah, probably 2016.
But we never really knew each other until
No.
we started with Coop.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy to me how all these quiet inner workings. One thing, and I even hit Zach with it before we even started. I did an interview with Zach O in 2009 when I had the iMoto Films at Dade City. So we're talking, 14 years ago now?
Yep.
And I don't even know if you remember the interview.
I didn't remember that it was you, but I remember that night of racing at Dade City very, very vividly because it was like one of my lower points of my life.
He's actually told us the story before.
It was a higher point for RJ of his
Yeah.
because he had way more hair back then, for sure. So that's why you don't recognize him.
No, so I was practicing. I was here. I want to say that was like January.
Weren't you on a two-stroke?
Yeah, I was an idiot. That's why I was. So we were practicing at Skytop, and the kid who owns it, Jason, he was like, "Oh, there's a big money race at Dade City tonight." I'm like, "All right, let's go." So we kind of cut off early, go to Dade City, and my 450 was kind of hammered. So I was like, "Oh, I'll just run a two-stroke" because it was money. I had 8-kit suspension. It was crispy. So go out, and I think I won the fast lap, which was $100 or whatever, and it was good money to win. It was when a sponsor cup thing was happening, and it was like $3,000 to win or something, the main event. So I go out, win the fast lap, go out in the heat race, get absolutely dusted, get like 4th or 5th, and I'm like, wow, that was pretty bad, and go out in the main, and I got a decent start, and I fell like over the crest of this little thing going into a corner, and like 8 dudes ran over my bike, and it was like, I didn't make $3,000. I made $100, and I just spent a good $1,000 on this piece, So, bad day. And like Mel Pocock, the kid that I live with in Europe, he was with me, and both of our mechanics. And every chance they get, like if I'm at Dade City, I'm sending them a picture, like, remember this night, boys? It was such an ordeal.
Well, it was a high for me because obviously at that point, I don't know many people, up in the ranks, and then you show up and I'm like, oh man, I got a chance to get an interview with Zach Osborne, so it was a highlight for me. But that whole time in that series, everything was good. But I want to talk about coming back from Europe to USA. How did that transition happen? What decision was made? Say, okay, I'm going to stay in US now and go back racing US motocross, supercross.
Yeah, so I had a deal in the end of 2011. I had one more year in the MX2 class. That's when the age rule was starting. 2012. After 2012, it was going to be 23 and under, which I was not going to be. So I had a deal with Rockstar Suzuki to come back then with Dave Gallen and Bobby Hewitt, and it was a really good deal. Like probably a deal I should have taken, but out of loyalty and sort of thank you, I stayed with Steve, my team owner. But the deal was, if I stayed, he had to bring me over with our bike because I knew our bike was extremely good. Yeah. Bring me over with our bike for 4 races for Supercross, which was 2012. The ones I did, I got 2 podiums, and 6th and a 9th, I think. And that was kind of what put me back on the map here for a ride. I did consider staying there forever, honestly. Like I could have gotten a decent MX1 deal and been on good money, and I was happy in life, living there and whatnot. But my wife and I were getting married, and she was finishing school, and it just seemed like the right thing to do to come home, So I ended up coming home. I had actually rode like those weeks. Those 3 weeks between those Supercrosses were crazy because each week I had like a different test. I rode every bike but the PC bike and the Star bike, I think. Troy Lee, Geico, Suzuki. I don't even remember all the bikes. Like it was fun for me. I was like showing up and they were whining and dining. Like it was a huge moment for me. Like where I felt like, okay, I've finally made it back. And
did you feel that way though? Like make it back? Like did you feel like I'm over, I'm done in U.S.?
There were definitely days in Europe where I was like, that's never going to happen. Like the chances of me riding a factory 450 was 0, like less than 0.
Yeah.
So like to get back to just a factory team was a huge, huge accomplishment for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's cool. Who was the ride that you came back to U.S. with?
Geico.
So how long, what year was this? We're talking 13?
This was going into 13, yeah. So I actually had a really good offer that was like double the money from Troy Lee Designs Honda at the time with Tyler Keefe. And he always tells me that I chose the Barbie doll high school prom queen over the good little girl, because we really gelled. We're still best of friends. Like, he's one of my go-to guys, and he's always like, yeah, that one time you chose the Barbie doll over the good little girl, so it's quite a good joke. But
I mean, that was a good bike though.
Yeah, it was great. And when I rode the TLD bike, it wasn't that great. I was, dang it. But also Rockstar Suzuki was still in the fray. I rode their bike and it was good. And just
that was Bobby Hewitt at the time.
Yeah, still Bobby Hewitt. And like now looking back, I ended up there in the end anyway, so it was all good. But yeah, the Geico thing was just like the ultimate at the time, right? Like Geico was dominating. They had all the guys. They had a huge team. They had the bikes, the gear, everything. So I took that deal.
So you come back in 13, Geico Supercross. Was that East or West?
I rode West. Yep.
In 13.
I got one podium. I think Seattle. Maybe. Yeah. But other than that, wasn't really much to write home about.
So how long was the Geico deal?
It was 2 years, and I had a third year that they had offered me.
An option?
Yeah, when the Husky thing happened, but I was doing some off-road stuff then, and like I wasn't extremely successful at motocross, right? Like I was doing okay, but not like gonna retire from motocross. So I took the Husky deal. It was considerably more money, and my wife and I decided I can race Supercross for 2 more years, which was a 2-year deal, and then I can race off-road after that because their off-road program was really good. And then obviously God had a different plan for it. It all changed after 2016. I had a really good year and was kind of thrust into the limelight, I guess.
So then the 17 year comes.
Yeah, 17.
The infamous 17 Vegas Supercross.
Yep.
So that was Husky?
Husky, yep.
And win the title 17, was that West or East?
That was East. Yep.
But Vegas is a showdown.
Yep.
So you go into Vegas, and were you leading or you were behind?
Smitty was leading by 1 point, and then Joey and I were tied on points behind him for second.
Yeah, going into that final
3-horse race for winner take all, basically.
And then what was it? 2 turns before the finish.
Yep, 2 turns to go.
We had Savachi on the episode 2 or 3 weeks ago. We talked about it. No bad blood today.
No, Joey and I are actually boys. We cycle
you guys are good
together a couple times a week. We sim race all the time.
I think he said you guys the day before he was on the episode, you guys went for like 100-miler or something.
No, I don't do 100 miles.
No centuries.
That was Seth, maybe.
Yeah. He did come on though, and he talked about you guys are good now.
Yeah.
So I'm sure at the time, Savachi a little bitter, but you end up getting the title in 17.
Yeah, you would be bitter, right? Like it was so close, and he was super close the year before. I think he lost the year before with Coop by
1
points or something.
Yeah.
1 point.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's an extremely good rider. I go to the track sometimes and he's there, and I'm like, man, how this guy doesn't have a factory ride making good money is beyond me.
No, he's good. So that was the indoor title. When you also had a lights outdoor title.
Yeah, so I won 17 Supercross, 17 outdoors, 18 Supercross, and then I was leading the championship outdoors in 18. And Joey and I hit in the first turn at Colorado and dislocated my shoulder. Oops, sorry.
Man, you guys always have a little tendency to get together. Then.
Yeah, it was just
fluke.
Yeah,
fluke.
It was bad. But that finished my outdoor season.
So then you go. What year did you switch to the 450?
The start of 19 was I started 450 in 19, but I had definitely the best off season of my career in 18 going into 19 on the 450, and I felt like I would have really had a little bit of a different 450 career, especially in the early days. But I got hurt like 2 weeks before the season, and it wrecked the whole Supercross season. I got on the podium once at the end at East Rutherford, but just really changed the scene for me a little bit. That was by far the best fitness I've ever been in, and the best riding I've ever done in my life was 18 going into 19.
Well, you say that put a damper on the 450 thing, but then you get the 450 title.
In the beginning of my 450 thing, I think.
Gotcha. So Kent, at this time, you're working for, was it Baggett?
In 19.
Yeah. So you're working for Baggett. You're watching all this stuff go down, and then you see Zacho obviously transition into the 450. come out. You say you're banged up in 19 going in, but then he turns it into title in, what was it, 21? 20?
2020, yeah.
20? That's pretty strong.
But I had a huge crash. Kent was there, maybe.
I'm not too sure. Honestly, I don't remember.
No,
Where was it at?
at Alden's on the 450 red track.
In
When
20?
I broke my back, yeah.
I didn't start with Coop till 21.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I was with Blake in 19 and 20.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wasn't there.
You sure?
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a huge crash right before the COVID stop. Broke my back, just destroyed myself, like knocked out, bruised all of my insides, spent a night in the hospital, and just really messed me up bad. And I would have missed the rest of Supercross and at least some portion of outdoors had the COVID thing not happen. And
Pushed it back a bit.
Yeah.
Then the Salt Lake Tour. Didn't you win a Salt Lake round?
I won a Salt Lake round. I was on the podium, I think, 4 times there.
Yeah. It was
Had
a pretty
really
good little
chance.
residency for you, though.
It was the best 3 weeks of racing of my career, I think.
And Salt
honestly.
Lake's a pretty cool town.
It was great. Obviously, everything was super weird. The riot thing was going on and all that. And
Yeah.
we were just in this little bitty KOA at the bottom of the hill in Salt Lake. You know, Salt Lake's on that hill. And,
All on the side of a hill.
yeah. And we were at the bottom of the hill, perfectly peaceful. Me, my mom, who drove my motorhome at the time, my 2 kids, my wife, and it's the best trip ever.
Yeah. That's a cool place. TB and I spent some time in Salt Lake last year. We went out there for the finale last year.
Yeah.
Even though we got in a car accident, but other than that, it was great.
Hey, was Dave Feeney always your mechanic at Husky?
Yeah, so he started with me in 15 when I started there, and we ended.
The whole time?
Yep, the whole time.
Wow. I worked with Dave at Suzuki.
Dave is a good dude, man.
Yeah.
He's one of the people that you can look at and say that guy loves what he does with all he is.
Works hard.
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to go that, I don't know Dave Feeney, but
No.
I do want to say this, and I want to say it on record here. Anybody that gets to meet, a previous champion, somebody that's high up in Supercross, and I want to give credit where credit is due. We started talking about bringing Zach on this episode. Didn't really know much. I reached out to you directly through one of the messenger channels, almost immediately messaged me back. Then we start texting back and forth. Then we start talking at the race. I will say I was very surprised because as much as I love Coop and we make fun of Coop all the time, but Coop can be a pretty hard-nosed guy. I mean, he's business is business.
I actually thought I had pissed you off, to be honest with you, because I was like, man, I'll live close to those guys. I think, right? Like,
Yeah.
No.
I don't know exactly where you live, but
Claremont, 40 minutes.
so I was like, man, I'm gonna reach out. I mean, he's probably gonna be like, oh, I'm busy, do the whole Seth Rarick thing on me and no show, and
It's not just you.
he does it to
And
everybody.
the only reason why he actually showed up is because you owed him $100. So that's probably why he showed up.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
would've
he
showed
left.
up.
He left the FTR today.
So I got to go get my money.
I gotta go get my money.
got my teeth
I guess
kicked in.
I guess I'm gonna
Yes,
show up.
But no, I will say this, and I truly appreciate you. The way that you're so approachable. You're real and you're very humble. And I was talking to somebody at FTR this morning, and I mentioned to them, yeah, Zacho's coming on our episode. And they were like, yeah, we walked up to him and he gave us the time. He talked to my kids and everything. And I was like, that is the vibe that I got. And I respect that a lot, and I feel like for us riding at the compound, Jet is very similar to that. Jet spends a lot of time for fans coming to one-off races, going to Dade City and doing things. I mean, people can get lost in how little our sport truly is.
Yeah.
And, when you can walk through the mall and nobody recognize you, that kind of shows how small our sport is.
Right.
But when you get people that have been at the pinnacle of our sport, like you have, what'd you say, three lights titles and a 450 title?
Yeah.
For someone at your level to be able to spend the time, come to us and spend time with people at the track, that's super cool to me.
I appreciate that. I probably had a couple of not run-ins, but experiences when I was younger, with and not when I say younger, I mean like younger as in like when I was 20 or 19 or whatever, where people were unappreciative of, like in the autograph line, like, hey, you guys can smile or whatever, and I never wanted to be that guy, and I always wanted to make other kids feel like I would want my kid's hero to feel, it make him feel, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I don't know why, I've always felt conviction to do that and to be approachable and to be just another person. We all put our pants on the same way every morning. We all bleed red. It's there's no reason to
that's
have
awesome.
a big head. You know what I mean?
That's so cool.
And my dad always taught me the asses you kick on the way up are the ones you kiss on the way down. And I don't know why, but that like really stuck with me through my life.
Yeah. No,
I will say at Alden's every year he got us, what was it for Christmas? He brought everybody hams.
Hams, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody out there, mechanics and everyone.
that's super cool.
Yeah.
That's super
That
cool.
couldn't have been cheap. So
I didn't have anybody to buy hams for this year. I told my wife, I was like,
I
need to
never
buy
got a
some
ham this year. So no one else
I got the mood, dude.
Austin's like, I was there. Like,
Yeah, Seth and I went to Waffle House on Christmas Day. Couldn't have a ham. So yeah, only thing open. So
City ham
Well-
or country ham?
Zacho, before we bounce into talking about our FTR racing this weekend and going into A1 that just happened this weekend and everything like that, I want to talk about real quick this off-road transition. Obviously, now you've moved over to the Yamaha squad. What's the goal or plan for 2023 with Yamaha?
Yeah, so I'm doing select sprint enduros and then all of the GNCCs in the XC2 class, which is the 250 Pro class. This is something I've always wanted to do. The way my retirement went, those opportunities weren't going to be there for me at Husky or in that group, So Yamaha came to me with something that I felt was extremely fair to me and just a really good opportunity. And I didn't really feel like I had great closure on what I was doing, like to just quit the way that it all happened. It was literally like I went to the test track the day before. Next day, my back flared up. I went to the boss's office and I was like, today I'm done, And that was the promise that I made to the person in charge when he allowed me to continue after I was injured in 2021. So that was a handshake deal, and I kept my word. But for me, I just want to have fun and enjoy it. My little boy has no recollection of me racing at all. He's the biggest Eli Tomac fan on the planet. So I want to experience that with him. Also, my wife, it's been tough on her too. Like we've put so much into racing and this career, and we just want to have some more fun.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into racing.
but you mentioned off-road earlier in your career. How did you ever get into off-road back then?
I don't know, honestly. Like, one of my buddies had a great trail system at his house, and it was like a huge reward for me to get to go there and ride. It was on Wednesday nights. Every Wednesday night they would ride there in the summer until dark, And when I was a kid, if I got to go, if everything was going good, I would get to go there and ride. And I just loved riding trail and did some, some local hare scrambles and whatnot growing up on 80s and stuff, but nothing major. And then one day in 2012, I went to Stu Baylor's house and they were making some video stuff there, and I was ripping, and it literally just like ramped from there. I was kind of bouncing in and out of it a little bit, and finally, this year it kind of came up that I had the opportunity to like make a proper effort at it, which is something that I've always wanted to do, and I'm all in.
That's cool.
So I think it was before the show, we brought up the ISDE thing. What is the ISDE?
International 6 Days of Enduro. It's one of the oldest motorcycling, off-road motorcycling events in the world.
You did that twice.
Did it twice, yeah.
Where'd you do it at?
The first time in Sardinia, which is like an island off the coast of Italy. Awesome, super sick trail, super sick tests.
Wow.
There was places where we were literally riding on the beach of the Mediterranean Sea. Like, it was awesome.
Dude, that's
The
unreal.
second time in Argentina, in the middle of nowhere, was not that fun.
And that's a country versus country type.
Yeah, it's the same as Destinations. It's a sprint enduro
Like a
format.
trail version of Destination?
Yeah, sort of. For 6 days though, it's a 6-day race.
6-day event.
You race every day for 6 days.
Yep, it's like I think the first year I did it, I had 48 hours on my bike at the end of the 6 days.
Wow.
Yeah,
and the riders have to do all the bike work.
yeah,
too. Like
all
you're
your bike work, chain.
Yeah, it's an endurance thing.
Yeah, almost. It's like Chucky.
Yeah, Chucky did it one of the years I did it.
Did he?
Yeah. Toby Price. It's a pretty sick race. It's one of the coolest races in the world, in my opinion.
And when did you do those?
I did it in 2013 on a Honda and 2014 on a Husky.
Nice.
Yeah. the first
Man,
year.
you truly have traveled the world.
I've been around. We have this map in my house that my wife bought me, and it's like points of interest. Like we have, places we've been or places that things have happened, where we met, where we got married, blah, blah, blah. Each one has like a different color pin. Yeah. And I haven't done anything like of Asia or Australia, and I need to do some stuff over there.
Yeah, I have the same map. Mine's of Florida.
Dade City and Zephyr Hills.
All the way to Claremont?
Yeah. He's been to Claremont once, yeah.
No, we've traveled the U.S. quite a bit. We've very, very few times we've been outside of the U.S. But, I mean, for what you're talking about, I mean, you've been truly all over the world. That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of my travels in Europe were in a camper too, so I did a lot of driving and
You see more?
seeing a lot of stuff there. Yeah, I couldn't really afford to see all the sites I should have seen, but that's one thing I wish is I would have just done it anyways,
Put a little bit more touristy in the trips.
Yeah.
I got you. All right, so this year's 23 schedule, going to do some more off-roads, GNCC, the full series.
Yep.
When does that start?
The first one's February 19th.
Where's it at?
Big Buck in South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a GNC in Florida?
Yeah.
Palatka?
Palatka, yeah.
Hogwell?
The day after Supercross.
Daytona.
Yep.
Yeah. Gotcha. TB?
Yeah, I got a few questions for Zach real quick.
Let's hear it.
Mention over to the STR.
Go for it.
I think it was 09. Didn't you train with Jorgensen?
Gunderson. Yeah.
Gunderson.
Yeah.
What was that, Norway? Sweden?
Yep. Norway.
How was that, like in the off season or?
Yeah, so we did a couple months in Sweden because that was like the closest big ski resort to where he lived. We did a bunch of cross country skiing. Just like he was kind of like warrior training, like the sun. We were so high up that like at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, it would be pitch black still. There was only like 3 or 4 hours of daylight, so we would be out there just hammering in the dark and just ski all day, a lot of good days. I remember the first day I ever skied, there was this beautiful, like, I've been to snow, like I come from snow, like I've seen snow before, but this is like a mountaintop in the middle of Scandinavia with this perfect little 2-track skiing trail. And after the first day, they love the story. Whenever I go there, they're like, "Remember, Zach? You could see everywhere you were because there was puke in the middle of the trail because you were throwing up." Because I was so gassed, like I was just like, just keep going.
That cross country skiing ain't no joke.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your skis now with like the roller?
I haven't done that in a hot minute. What?
Because that's what everyone used to give him crap for that.
Yeah, so I went through this phase of roller skiing. So it's same like cross country skiing, but with roller, like long roller blades, just 2 wheels. Yeah. And they love to talk about it.
I just listened to them talk about it. I didn't really know what they were talking about.
It's hard.
Yeah, I bet.
And we were talking earlier before you got here. I know when you rode for Dixon, the guy that was doing y'all's motors then, I'm pretty sure was doing the motors for Star at the time, right? The F1?
Yeah, Cosworth. So they did all the development. We did most of the development for a year in Europe before the Cosworth stuff came here, and then it eventually became the GYTR stuff because Yamaha partnered with them. But yeah, I got to go to Cosworth factory and see all the F1 engines being built, and man, the level of that stuff that they had going on there was next level. To
Where were they at?
England. Okay. Yeah, it's a super famous engine shop, basically.
Wow.
Cosworth. They've done tons of rally cars, tons of F1 stuff.
And then 2 more, and we move on. How was that first GP victory in Turkey?
It was crazy because I was scared for my life, genuinely, like honestly. I mean, like waking up, we have this I don't know, like this thing about Islam in America, right? Like it's kind of scary to us or whatever because of what happened. But you go there and it's completely like what you see in the movies, Istanbul. It's super crazy, sketchy, and my boss didn't book me a rental car or any way to get from the airport to the track. So I'm like landing in Istanbul, and I'm like, all right, if I don't play my cards right here, this could go real sideways real quick. Like as soon as I get in this taxi, I'm taken, right? Like oh, nice American boy, you go with me, right?
Well, yeah, you probably got trust issues straight off the airplane.
Yeah, so I'm like, I get on the plane in Brussels, and I'm already freaking out about what's gonna happen when I get off the plane in Istanbul, right? So, get off the plane, and there was one when I raced in Europe when I was a kid. There was a kid, Nikolai Larson, who I raced with quite a bit, and I knew him, and he was on my flight, and I already had like seen him, like, hey, yeah, that's Nikolai. Like, if worst comes to worst, I'm gonna just follow him out of the airport and see what happens. So we get out of the airport, and I'm like, dude, you got to ride? And he was like, no. I'm freaking out too. So we get in a cab together, and dude takes us straight there to where it is, and we're literally just outside the city in Istanbul, and on this airstrip, and they just built a track on this lake, and it was a pretty sweet little track. But every morning at like 5 a.m., there's a mosque call. So it's like all that stuff. And it's loud, like wake you up in the motorhome loud. And I was like shook about it, every morning. And then to go on the podium, and then the flag goes up, and then the national anthem gets played. And I'm like, man, I'm a long ways from
now you're
home
a target.
by myself.
Yeah,
right?
now you're a target.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Another crazy story about that is I sat down on the plane from Brussels to Istanbul, and there was a guy beside me. I love cycling. I love the racing side of cycling. I watch it all the time, and I sit down on the plane, and there's a kid beside me, about the same age. I see he has an American passport, and I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? And he's like, yeah, good, whatever. I'm going to the Tour of Turkey, TJ Van Garderen.
Oh, wow.
I was like, and now looking back now, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, what were the chances of that being TJ Van Garderen?
Wow.
I mean, he would never recall the incident because it wouldn't have stuck out to him, right? Like, it was just another flight, some other American traveling idiot, right? But, it was a crazy trip and something I'll never, ever forget or experience again.
Was that Dixon's first win, too, on the GP?
No, he had won a lot of GPs with Billy McKenzie and Paul Malin. He was Paul Malin's mechanic basically his whole career, so they won designations together. They were, the team was really successful before I got there, but that was his first win in a really long time, so it was special for all of us, and it was just an unbelievable experience, honestly.
And lastly, I think it was your second year on Geico. You trained with Eli for a little bit, right? Didn't you go out there?
So that was not my second year on Geico. That was my first year on Husky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Learned a ton. The altitude really kind of fried me a little bit, like longer term through the summer, at the end of the summer. So my results weren't that great, but man, really just a great family. And John's someone I respect a lot, still to this day. Every time I see him, I try to say hello. And they taught me a lot about riding a dirt bike and some crazy bike rides we did and stuff that I'll never forget. Well,
John pretty much just kept y'all accountable to each day because, Eli's about the only guy now that does his own thing.
Yeah, so I for whatever reason, I had been asking for a long time, like, hey, can I come up? Can I just ride there for a week? I was hounding them for a while, and finally I gave up because then I was off Geico and they were still at Geico, and I was like, that ship sailed. Well, one day they just called me and they're like, hey, you want to come ride for the summer? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So we just moved up there, and the bummer part was Eli got hurt. That was the year he crashed at Colorado. So after the third round, he was out, but it actually wasn't a bad thing because John actually was just with me, it was like kind of one-on-one then. So it was a really cool experience.
I've never, honestly, to be honest, I've never heard of anybody training there.
No, J Mart was the other guy after me.
Because it's not a regular occurrence where there's people training there.
No,
yeah.
It's a really cool little slice of land there too that they've got. It's a special little spot.
Doesn't his mom have like a winery or something going?
Yeah, there's a winery there. It's small. It's maybe like...
I'm not trying to interrupt the story because I know it's awesome, but I did just get a text from Rob Coy, and I actually just sent it to you on your phone too. Look at that picture. How cool is that picture of Zacho going through?
Getting waxed today? Not very cool.
Hey, how about the...
He's not happy about it, man.
How about the style check here over the step up from Rob Coy photos?
I was waiting for a big scrub over that.
Oh, yeah.
Never.
Doing a little whipper tail there.
Kent standing right there?
Oh, Oh yeah, it's hanging
Look at
out.
Kent. Oh,
It
Kent's in there.
is. It is. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Of course, Zach was like, "Who's in the background?"
Yeah.
Well, a huge thank you
And TV's
to
inside him.
thank you to Mr. Rob Coy for sending me those photos. The photo of the start right here, Zach. I don't know if you want to put that one up.
It wasn't that bad, actually. I was like third.
Yeah, I think third on the first couple turns. I
Yeah,
think.
some kid stalled it in front of me, so I was like eighth in, but yeah.
Yeah, but that one going through the woods too, like with his back,
Yeah.
with your jersey, with the
Track was gnarly today.
FTR
Was it?
sign.
I was not ready for that.
So, just to transition gears here, let's jump into the FTR for a second. TB, when was the last time you rode a dirt bike in the woods?
2006. I did the Denver Classic back home. It's like a local NCHSA.
I
Hare
feel like
Scramble. Did
when you say Denver Classic, I'm thinking Denver, Colorado.
That's a pretty big race around in North Carolina for that series. I'm sure some GNCC guys have raced it before because I know that area where it's at. It's kind of a hotbed for those guys.
Zach, have you ever heard of this before?
I know what NCHSA is, but I don't know Denver Classic.
Yeah, it's in a little town called Denver, right outside Lake Norman, Mooresville.
That's the one Coop did this summer.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
Denver Classic?
yeah.
So you're getting ahead of me right here, but that's the whole reason I want to tie this in. TB, you said 06.
Yeah.
Kent, you guys went this summer with Coop not racing outdoors, and you guys just did a whole bunch of off-road riding. And I want to circle all this back into one group because Shane and I were talking about this beforehand. With Zacho and obviously, TBU Racing Pro, Kent, you guys did a whole bunch of stuff this offseason. Do you feel like the off-road, as far as the technical side of off-road riding, helps on the motocross side?
Yeah.
I would think so.
100%.
I mean, just bike skills and technical side of riding. I mean, TB, racing the FTR this weekend. I mean, bike ability, bike skill. I mean, you have to keep that stuff pretty tight in check.
Yeah, one thing that I learned from yesterday, I feel like each discipline of racing's got its own racecraft. From like racing in the barns at Asheville and then going outdoors, Supercross. I learned that remembering the tight sections and making sure you can make your passes before you get to them. Because if not, you get laid up behind a slow guy. The guy behind you can catch you like that pretty much.
Yeah.
Some of those tight sections at that race we did this weekend were pretty long actually. So if you're behind a guy for a minute 30,
Yeah.
that guy behind you could have been behind you, 45 seconds, and then by the end of that little loop, he's back on you.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's like a strategy and a little racecraft thing is to kind of remember those key spots.
Well, and at the same time with doing the off-road stuff, I mean, Kent, and I know Coop's been vocal about it and even, I think, mentioned it, being washed up in his press conference at A1. But, I mean, didn't you get a little bit of, revitalized or rejuvenation, when you get back mixed in? And Zach, I'm going to come to you next with the same question, but didn't you guys have some fun?
I thought it was a blast because, I grew up doing the local racing back home in the woods and just going there with Coop and kind of being back to local stuff. It was kind of,
it's a different vibe,
I
right?
almost felt like I was at home again, so it was cool.
More of a family atmosphere,
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm sure he's got tons of people that are coming up to him trying to be fanboy, and want autographs whenever, but that's kind of what got you there,
Yeah. I think it was really good for him because people get to see him from outside of the stadium. You know what I mean? People come up, talk to him, realize he's a normal dude, likes to have a good time at the races, have fun. He signed autographs all day long, talked to every person that came up. So I think it was really good for him as an athlete for people to see that side of him. So
yeah. And then Zacho, I'm going to bring the same question back to you. The offset of the skill, the skill set, I should say, not the offset, the skill set that the outdoors or off-roads bring. Can you translate that into the technical side of Supercross?
I think so, yeah. Definitely it translates more to outdoors, but I think also bike skills just overall are going to get better the more you ride, right? And putting 2 hours on the bike today was, good for me going into the season. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
I got my teeth kicked in today, but I won last weekend, So for me, there's a lot to learn as far as craft goes. But back to the question, I think that people, like anything, you kind of get put on this pedestal of an untouchable or Eli Tomac's never going to come to an FTR, right? But Cooper Webb did. So it's all to play for.
Yeah.
It's just whether you have, I think a lot of people don't do that stuff because I don't want to say ego, but sort of ego.
kind of putting yourself out there a little bit.
Yeah. I got my teeth kicked in today by guys that, most people have never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
that know what I've done in Supercross. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't care. Like I knew there was going to be some of those days, right? So I'm willing to check my EO at the door and go and ride my dirt bike because that's what I like to do.
Yeah. There was a lot of people standing next to me today on the trail, and I had two people specifically. One was you, and the other one was Clay Lyons. When you guys came around, I was going obnoxious.
Yeah.
And a little kid walked up next to me, and he was like, "Is that Zach Osborne?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Is he racing Supercross?" I'm like, "Not right now, but Supercross was last night." You know, like it's kind of hard to do that, you know.
Yeah.
But they recognize you because of that,
Right.
you know. So I think that's probably there's more of a spotlight on the Supercross than there is. But I do feel, and I think that's what either you and I talked about or Tyler Kosh and I were talking about earlier is, do you feel from some of your off-road time before, and even, you know, I doubt it's even comparable in the ISDE thing, but I feel like off-road is growing.
It is growing because I think that people are starting to understand the fun side of off-road. Like this weekend was massive. I don't know how many riders were there,
Yeah,
but they said on the starting line for the afternoon race, it was the biggest one they've ever had.
Yeah. I know for the race overall, they said there's almost 1,500 entries.
That's mental for like a I mean, a statewide series, I guess,
Yeah.
sort of, but it's more like local series,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. That's big numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that people are starting to realize, like, it's not like the likelihood of being on TV at Supercross is slim, right? Like, it's a fine line. It's just like playing in the NBA or the NFL or whatever, maybe even a finer line.
Right.
But I think that people like to go and race, know when they're going to race, know how long they're going to race, know when they can leave, know when they can go home.
Yep.
And they're not battling, you know, crowds at the starting gate and this and that for 4 laps of racing. And I think that that's why it's growing. Like, it appeals to everyone. They can have fun with their friends in the field before the race and after the race. And, you know,
Yep.
it's just a different vibe.
It's a grassroots of racing,
It really is.
Yeah, Shane and I have been doing this FTR stuff for a couple years now.
Yeah.
I mean, we would typically, a normal weekend for us would be roll out to the race on a Friday afternoon, get there, set up the camper, the motorhome, whatever it would be. We would grill out, you know, watch whatever on TV, whether it was a Supercross race or something on the TV, grill out, hang out, you know, kids playing and having a good time. Where else are you going to go camp for 2 nights on a weekend with your family for $20?
You're not.
I mean, I had that conversation with somebody yesterday at the track. I mean, it's
affordable for people to do.
Yeah, and you're there with your family, you're having a good time, and that's, you know, I appreciate everything at the Florida Trail Riders, you know, organization and the club that put on the Mondon Hill FTR. Zach, you raced it last year. I think you, Chambers, and Ethan Lane.
Yeah, we raced on Saturday
last year in Sportsman.
Yeah. Yep.
And then this year you did it obviously AA.
Yeah.
I think Ethan did it yesterday in Sportsman.
Mm-hmm.
Shane and I rode it in Pre-Mod B. TB rode it in Pre-Mod A. Mike Pacone in Pre-Mod A. Clay Lyons was in Pre-Mod A. And then Kyle Keelan was supposed to do Pre-Mod A and pulled up to the line. He had a hole in the side of his water pump, and he had just water pouring out of it. So he rolled up to the line right when it was supposed to start and then turned around and left. Pooh was supposed to race. I know that we talked about it in episode 15. But unfortunately, you know, the Sipes family, you know, everything with them, prayers out with them. Unfortunately, his papa passed away. So he had to get the first flight out on, I think, either Wednesday or Thursday and go to Kentucky. So he was not able to race this weekend. So then that's what freed up the bike. I know I said I wasn't going to race, but the bike was available, so I did it. But I enjoyed the trail. I thought the trail was really fun. The Saturday trail,
it was good.
It was a fun trail.
It was good until TB rear-ended me.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. I've been waiting for
Well,
yeah, we're coming.
I brought it up earlier with, you know, him banging bars with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, and so I finally got to do it yesterday. Now I'm on the list.
Yeah.
So
Well, the only thing I wanted to talk about first before we get into the race recap was the trail for us. It was pretty slick in the morning for practice, but the afternoon came around really good in my opinion. I mean, TB, you thinking same thing there? I mean, it was a little slick in practice.
Yeah, a little greasy, but it was definitely good come.
It came race time. It was good, but from what Zacho and Clay Lyons were telling me today, the Sunday trail might not have been as great as our trail yesterday.
It just wasn't that well marked. Like, I was still looking for arrows on the last lap. I still had no idea where I was going. got lost on the last lap. Actually, like was going the wrong direction on the trail, which is not good for me. But I raced last year, like you said, and it was a much better trail last year. I think it was the opposite direction.
Yeah, the track was reversed. Yeah.
And it seemed to flow better.
Yeah. It was, I mean, I like the Brooksville track. I think the Brooksville and the Dade City rounds are always a fun one. I can't say thank you enough to the club for the hospitality that they gave us. You know, I mean, we rolled the semi in there, easy peasy. We dropped it off, you know, had a nice pit area. I mean, it was great for us, but I really enjoyed the trail. But let's get into the actual race itself. Shane, you want to say something about TB? You want to call him out?
Hey, let's talk about the start first. TB had a
TB had an amazing start.
Yeah,
Well,
in
he's
the
on a different
Pre-Mod A.
line than this, but
Yeah, pre-mod A line, which was the first line, right?
Yeah.
Row number 1.
Yeah, I was. I mean, that was my first time doing something like that. Because I feel like that GC or that woods race I did back home was just like just dead engine start type deal.
Sitting on the bike or
Yeah,
something.
sitting on the bike.
Yeah. So this one's, what do they call that? Le Mans style?
Yeah, Le Mans.
Where we run to it.
I think it's cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Because last time I had done that, I think was back when they had the
TT at Minios.
TT.
Me too.
And I was thinking to put it in, like keep it in first so I can just start it with the clutch. But Kent was like, nah, just do neutral. So he's like, once you get on it, start it. I'm gonna push you, put it in gear. And sure enough,
Kent's
it worked
good at
out.
pushing.
And I freaking
That's
looked
completely illegal.
right.
Completely illegal.
no, it's
it's
not. The
not.
bike was running.
Yeah.
It wasn't running.
I
until
was
you
running
Seen the
kicked it.
whole shot we got at
You
Okeechobee
had
last year.
You had him pushed into the trees before he even started kicking.
Kent, I did a wheelie off Kent's arm. He was like, and then the bike started.
Is that
Yeah, he didn't even kick. He didn't even kick the bike.
No, I just
He just put it in
bump
neutral or first gear.
hey, bump started it.
It started up first kick, and then bam! I looked over to the right, didn't see nobody. There was a kid to my inside that was right in front of me because he actually got the whole shot today in Double A. And
Which one?
38.
Oh yeah, Corbin Dinkle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes pretty good.
I had no idea where I was going when we took off. I was like, "Oh, this is good." Oh, yeah, my eighth.
Yeah.
And then I was behind him like through that little moto section. And actually passed him right at the end of it.
On the moto track.
On the moto
Yeah.
track, and I'm like, oh man, this thing, I'm gonna be a little nervous in these woods.
So you went in P1 into the woods?
Yeah, went in P1 and then got about midway through, and there was like a little option section, and for some reason I should have went to the right because it was a straight shot, but I went to the left and it kind of curved back.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel comfortable doing like that because I knew those dudes was right on me. So I went back to fourth and then stayed there for the most part, and then had a little bit of a long pit stop per se.
Yeah.
Got passed by a few guys and then got back up and finished fifth. But it was awesome, man. I had a great time.
Why are you looking at Kent when you say that?
I had nothing to do
Yeah,
with it.
Kent didn't have to do nothing to do with it, but they went to throw the gas in there. They didn't have the cap off, and the jug didn't have a breather tube on it. So I mean, it was just a nice, slow pour.
Leisurely pit stop.
I'm pretty sure I drank a beer the time that it took to fill his bike up with gas. Wow. So, yeah.
All right, so it was about 27 seconds then.
20. Yeah, maybe 30. Yeah.
So then Kent, obviously you got a good start, but then Kent walks back to me and he was like, I'm going to do the same thing I did with you, TB. He's all, just put your feet on the pegs, which I've never done. Like actually stand on the bike and normally somebody's just holding it.
I was so bummed.
Well, no, I kicked it first start, but then I had trust issues with Kent. I thought he was going to drop me.
Trusted.
I did because I was like, am I going to kick this thing and I'm going to fall over because this fool's going to drop me? And it started.
Have you seen that bear?
And then
I had
He
to
will-
no, he did a great job.
could've
And
picked
then
you and the bike up.
but
Yeah, he will hold you.
But I was freaking out because it worked so well, and I was like, oh.
You completely let me down. I was on such a high from the front row over here.
But I ended up going into the first corner. I think like 6th or 7th or something like that. It's probably P7.
Messing my ratios up.
Yeah, sorry, bud. But
I think I went in the first turn P20.
yeah.
I was feeling
was a
pretty
lot of
confident
guys.
on the start though, because Zacho, I helped him last year at one of the FTRs, and he had it had to have been like a 10-second lead. It
huge.
felt like going in the first
Yeah,
turn.
it was massive.
Yeah, it was cool. He was so nervous beforehand too, because he never did one of those starts.
Two-stroke, it would just fire right
Absolutely
up.
crushed.
Gone.
Gone.
Well, how many FTRs have you done, Zacho?
Today would have been my fourth or fifth one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you did Brooksville last year, Brooksville today, but
Yeah, Brooksville last year, Brooksville today. I did Bartow twice, once last year, once this year. And
Bartow's a fun trail.
Okeechobee last year.
That was your first
Okeechobee's
AA, right?
not so fun.
Okeechobee was the best one.
That was your first play.
I liked Okeechobee.
Of course, he says
No,
it's
I
the
liked
best.
Okeechobee.
Super.
I didn't like Hogwaller.
It depends
Hogwaller
on
was
which one
terrible.
though, because there's 2 Okeechobee rounds and there's an Indian Town round, and they're all 3 fairly
No,
close.
I
to
did
each
the
other.
Okeechobee that Mr. Rash lays out.
Yeah, that's the one I liked.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
And you did that one off the couch too.
Yeah,
And then he led for what?
hour and a half.
Yeah, and then
I actually maybe led for an hour and 40 minutes, and then
they got you on the last lap.
Yeah, they passed me at like the 4 mile on the last lap and beat me by like 2 minutes.
But like the first,
who won it?
Jesse and Ryder Lafferty.
Okay.
but the first like 2 laps, I swear he was like 2-minute lead.
Yeah.
Gone.
Didn't we see Edmondson today? I didn't.
He was there, I think, but I don't think he raced.
Okay. Yeah, it's what.
I saw him last weekend at WW, and he said he didn't like Mondon, so he was gonna work instead of racing.
Well, that's possible because you can get a work credit instead of doing a race credit. But either way, I liked the trail. I thought it was fun. Huge thanks to the club letting us bring the semi in. Shane and I had a nice battle in the pre-modern B.
We actually did.
I could see him the entire time because out there in the fields, when you made the U's, I was looking back for him the entire time. Like people were probably like, "Man, this dude's breaking his neck," and I was sitting back. I was like, "I just got to spot Shane. That's all I've got to.
Yeah.
All I've got to do is spot Shane."
Because I stalled it on the first lap, and
He was in front of me.
and I see this guy go around me, and I'm like, "You got to be all right. The race is on."
Hey, did you ever stop for fuel once?
Nope.
I was gonna say I was telling the time,
And I didn't because I knew he was. So that my strategy was, you know what?
Break RJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna try to
And I was-
pass him through because his pit stop, and I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna pass him." This is what I'm thinking out way ahead. I'm gonna pass him while he's in there getting gas and just drinking a beer or whatever the hell he's doing.
Well, I had a beer in my pocket for you. That's why I was hoping you were gonna stop.
And sure enough, he saw me coming through the chicanes before the pit, and he just rolled out, and I was like, "Damn it!"
Well, the good thing is that TB, I think, already got all the bugs worked out of the whole vent tube and the fuel fill up.
Fixed it for you.
Yeah.
So when I came in, well behind TB, I already had my gap cap broke loose. So I just cruised in with my clutch in, and I had the gas cap broke loose. I think Kyle Keelan was on my right, and he gave me a bottle of water. Dookie had the gas cap, and Heath Dorr, they were all like on me as soon as I stopped. And all I was doing was looking back, because the scoring chicane was right there.
Well, I think
and I
TB
knew
might have just taken off by the time you got there. I think that's how long.
So everything was already open.
Yeah.
Well, I knew
Yeah, the gas cap
Shane was
was low.
coming, and I was like, well, Shane got a better start than I did, and he was right in front of me, and then he stalled it. And I knew his bike has been doing that. Like when you get
3 times yesterday.
when you get in the real tight stuff, where you got to lock up the brakes or whatever, the bike just shuts off. And it did it right in front of me. And I went by and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got him."
It sounds like sabotage, Shane.
Hey, so we did whole shot RJ though.
You did.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you did.
That's cool.
So I had a meeting with somebody yesterday, and I won't disclose his name, but the bike's getting fixed. Don't worry about it. So it's never. I swear, I had about a 15-minute sit down, and it's going to the shop, and it's never going to happen again.
With Ian or what? You gonna have Greg Albertine special?
I called Greg Albertine on the phone,
All right.
and I was like, "Dude, how do we get this thing to
Sending
run
the bike,
right?"
sending the bike to Goose.
Yeah.
Sending it
Might
to
be
Goose.
shipping everything to Idaho right now. But
No, we got through, and I was sitting in that pit stop, and I just looked back the whole time, and I saw Shane start coming in the scoring chicane, and I was like, I gotta go. I think Tyler Kasha had a camera right in my face, and he was trying to ask me something. I was like, how do I look? I gotta go. I just left. I didn't even think my gas cap was all the way filled up or tightened up when I left, but again.
I got to give it to you, RJ. You stepped it up yesterday because you knew I was behind you, so I think you rode a little bit harder than what you were planning on riding.
I absolutely did.
Because we were crossing each other, the chicanes. I would look over and he's right there, and then out in the field, I saw him the whole time, and
I got
he
a
was
lecture.
going faster than what I've ever seen him go.
Yeah, it sounds like you stepped up when Tyler caught you though on the last lap though.
Yeah, so
Let's talk about that.
I did.
We need to discuss this.
Yeah, give me the details.
No, there was this guy making all this crazy noise behind me.
Bunch of
with
racket.
bunch of racket with some crappy
Hear the
125.
foot pegs vibrating.
Yeah, I can hear all these parts falling off this bike behind me, and all of a sudden this dude just. I don't know how to explain it. I said yesterday, ass packed me, but
That's a great way to explain it.
He literally, no, it wasn't your fault. I don't know whose fault it was, but this guy was on me, so like I was going way too fast down the straight, and then it was like a straight left. So I got on the brakes like super hard. My rear wheel was probably off the ground. I was on it so hard, and this dude just plows into the back of me, and I didn't even know it was him. And then like the corner came.
Were you pissed? Before you knew it was him, were you pissed?
Oh,
I was just like, well, there was no. I mean, ask TB right now. There was no real spot for him to go around me right there. It was pretty tight, And so then I go. It makes a left and then another left, and I look over and I see this dude crawling around the bushes or whatever. I'm like, hell yeah, that guy went down, dude.
I had just passed like a pack of 5 behind you, and I was like, I won't let these guys get back around me because I knew it went back to another tight section. So I got up pretty quick, but then my left leg was fully cramped. So I got the next little bit with my legs stretched out trying to get it.
But I think you got up and passed me again, or you ended up passing me. Yeah.
Oh, dude, TB came around me by the fence line going back into those little like off cambers, and he was ripping pretty good. And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It was fun. I mean, it just, like I was saying, it was just bikes and bodies and open cattle everywhere in that open field.
Yeah.
Because I didn't notice the cattle till the last lap, and I'm going, 4th gear wide open. And I see some 2 cattle just coming towards me. I'm like, it's just a free-for-all for out here. Plus, too, on Saturday, you got some of the old vintage bikes and the old XR 200s and stuff like that, and they're all hung up on the hills. And there's literally, every time I came through the field section, there was someone laid out off one of those jumps. They would hit, because I was like, that kicker's going to get somebody. Come around the next lap, there's bodies laying everywhere, but it was
Yesterday,
fun.
did they, there was one log you could jump, like it was very clear that you could jump the log.
Yeah.
After that, there was like 3 humps. Did they run that yesterday?
I remember.
Was it in the field?
No, it was like right after the moto section.
I don't remember that. There was a log section in the back, but there was a branch like 10 feet past it that was hanging down that, like, if you were to jump that, like, you were going to get clotheslined.
Oh, no, that's the one I'm talking about. We jumped that today. Doubled in that. That branch is like, that's...
Wow. Hey, I will say, when Tyler got right after the finish line, he handed me the bike and just started walking back to the pits. And I get on the thing, the bar mounts are all tweaked. Kill switch is gone. Like, I tried to shut the bike off, but I shocked myself because the kill switch was, I tried to like ground it out. It shocked me, like the bike was hammered.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so you probably owe RJ some parts, Shane. We're going to need some handlebars, bar mounts, kill switch, all that stuff.
We've got it in the trailer.
Okay,
We
perfect.
keep spares on there.
I was going to say.
I think you said when you got back to the truck, there is nothing straight on this bike.
No. I had a hard time just riding it back to the pit.
It was still fun though. I
absolutely.
enjoyed it. I know you came around me pretty good. And I was like, okay, all right, we're gonna do another one of these.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
I think the Dade City one is in March.
All right.
We just got to look at the dates. I just got to see if it conflicts with any of the East Coast Supercross races. But either way, Zacho, any other FTRs this season, or is it's
Okeechobee. Hopefully, yeah.
And then GNCC time.
Yeah.
So we're going from there.
Yeah.
Let's get into some fantasy here.
Oh, great.
Actually, stand by. Before we get into fantasy,
Yeah, let's skip that part.
we gotta say a huge thank you to HBI Racing, HBI Tax, Mr. Matt Bell, one of our sponsors of the team and sponsors of our podcast on every episode. Huge thank you to HBI Racing and HBI Tax. They actually went out to Anaheim 1 and got to see round 1 this weekend, so they got to see it firsthand. Overall, HBI Tax, anybody needs any tax services, domestic and foreign, reach out to HBI Tax. Let's get into fantasy. So we have the Pulp MX, Mr. Steve Mathis. They have a great platform there for anybody to play Fantasy Supercross. Within that fantasy platform, we created our own Future MX radio group. We said we were going to put up some type of prize on the last episode. Well, we did it. We built it. It's 100% Tyler Kosh's fault. He is the one that had the idea and created it. So I'm pretty sure Tyler should be the one paying out the prizes. But we did it this week, and we did $100 cash for the first week just to get people enticed. I wake up this morning.
Well, wait a minute. Is this going to be every weekend, or is the $100 just to get people enticed?
Oh, it was 100. We said on the text it was going to be either cash, gift card, prizes, something.
Okay.
I really wish on the first round we would have gone with like maybe we give away a Zach Osborne jersey, but we haven't gotten that far yet. So
I want a gift card
I'll get you a gift.
to Mons Venus,
Oh, great.
please.
What's that?
I don't know. I've never been
It's a
there.
gentleman's club on Del Mabry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. All right. Well, so we'll get you a $5 gift card. See how far that gets you. But so we create this whole idea on the last episode, and we executed. We went online through the Pulp MX platform and created the Future MX Radio League. And to get into the league, we shared the password with some friends and people that we know within the industry. I think we had 20 or 25 people. We all logged in and created an account. I'm like, okay, great. We're going to, it's going to do well. We had this whole discussion on the last episode number 15, about our own picks from who we think was going to be top 3 in the 250s, who we think was going to be top 5 in the 450s. But that's, there's a bit of a difference between, picking who you think is going to be there realistically versus this whole fantasy thing, because the fantasy, and especially the way that Pulp does it with their, platform and the handicaps, which I'm still trying to explain to Dookie. He didn't even put a team in, but trying to get through all of that. We do the race yesterday at the FTR, completely gassed, exhausted. I don't even make it to the first heat race. I'm already asleep. Wake up this morning. I watch all the racing before I even open my phone. Don't want to check social media. Don't want to know the results. I look at all of it, and I end up panning out. Zacho wins out of our Future MX League, our Future MX Radio.
You invited me.
I know.
Oh, we're not mad.
I'm not mad about it at all. But I wish,
I'm glad you actually gave me some insight on how the damn thing works. Like, I don't know how it works, so
maybe
I got dead last, so I need some help.
No, Dookie was last.
Oh yeah, Dookie didn't even put in. He didn't even put in a team, so
I never signed up.
I'm
so
pretty sure it was
technically
my
I'm
best
last.
night ever, though. I don't know if I can check that, but it was good.
Well, I wake up this morning, I watch all the episodes.
I was excited about my 92 points.
So, like I said at the very beginning of the episode, Shane calls me. It's like 7 a.m. and he's like, "Hey, man, is 92 points good?"
I was on the toilet, like, dude,
I'm like, no.
seriously, like, dude, I want to see if I won $100. I was so excited, and I was like, dude, 92 points. I'm like, that's got to be good. So I call him, and I'm like, yeah, is 92 points good? And he's like, dude, you're dead last. Oh I'm like.
Well, and I can't give him too hard of a time because I'm second to last.
He's second to last.
So I had
above me.
I had 106 points.
Just like yesterday's race.
So I had Pierce Brown was my all-star in the 250, which went down in the second turn of the heat race. I had Ty Masterpool, who was leading the LCQ and went down. I had Chiz, which I had no idea had a flu or a stomach virus and hasn't had anything to eat or drink for like 3 days. And then I don't know who's in my 450, but they didn't make it. I think I only ended up having like 3 out of 8 guys make it.
That's a tough day.
And that's the thing that you need. And that's what, Zach kind of hinted at the beginning of the episode. You have to have 8 out of 8 guys in there if you're going to truly make points.
Well, it's very apparent now that you have to pay attention on the race day of
On
how these
qualifying.
guys' day is going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
That's a dangerous. It's just a dumb game.
Yeah.
And Dan Truman sent me a text today, and he's like, "This game is stupid."
He created it.
I know.
Literally.
He was part of it.
Yeah.
And he said, why? Because he sucked last night?
Well, I
'Cause
put
it's hard. You can't. There's no logic. It's just like rolling the dice.
yeah.
It
so
is.
It's a luck.
I mean, you'd think Pierce Brown is going to be a good dude, right? So he has a 4 handicap, and I'm like, okay, so if he gets 5th or better, I'm going to get paid out first place points. Well, he ends up going down in the second turn of the heat race and doesn't even make it to the main. So I get 0 points for
My
Pierce
lights
Brown.
guys were winner, 4th double points, 5th double points, 6th double points.
That's pretty strong.
That's a good day.
Who was your 450?
My 450 was Ferrandis at a -1, AC at a 1.
Yeah, AC didn't do that good. He got 9th, so you would have got paid 8 for him.
Yeah, that wasn't great. Ferrandis was 5th, so he got 6th double points.
Who was your all-star?
Yeah, I picked Ferrandis.
Chase, I think.
Okay.
I think Chase.
Yeah, so he would have been pretty good.
Yeah, but he was 0, I think.
So you got second for him.
Third.
Oh,
Coop got second.
I thought it was the other way around.
Mm-mm. Who got P2?
So
And then I had Starling. Starling was my kind of roll of the dice, but I felt pretty good about it. And he was a 9, and I think he got, I don't know what he got, 16th maybe. So he was like 7th. So I was 3rd, 7th, 8th, and 9th double.
that's strong.
Yeah.
I had ET as my all-star because he had a handicap of a 1. So I was
I
like,
didn't take him for whatever reason. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling the magic at A1.
then I had Benny and talked to Benny today. He is still in the hospital.
Why?
Benny Bloss.
Yeah, why?
So he went down yesterday and they took him back. I'd have to ask Dookie the exact details, but I think he had, what's it called? Like a hematoma or something, like contusion or something. And he stayed the night in the hospital last night. He's still there right now. He was hoping to get out today, but they're 3 hours behind us. So I talked to him earlier this morning, but, so I had Benny, I had Chiz, I had Masterpool, I had Pierce Brown.
You had a disaster.
Oh, that was the worst pick. I mean, not that you knew, but that was bad.
I didn't know. I mean, going into the heat races, I thought I was pretty solid, but we were racing. We were at the FTR. We're doing our thing. So I'm not checking social media. I'm not checking, anything to see how these guys are doing. I'm not watching qualifying. I mean, I basically said, here's my team, on Friday, and I'm going to send it, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
Well, you better bet that next week in Oakland, I'm going to be paying attention on Saturday.
See, it makes you focus more, and I think that's the whole thing. Why Steve and Polp.
Makes your Saturday night so much more stressful.
Well, I used to do fantasy football, and I was stressed. I didn't watch any of the damn games. I watched my fantasy thing all the time, stressing out about it.
It'll become the same with us.
Yeah.
I didn't participate in the fantasy, but
Well, we're going to do it week to week. It's
Which
not going to be like
which fantasy?
the Pope
Oh, okay.
one I did this weekend. But I would say that I'm sure what
Sorry,
was
boys.
that guy's name in the 450 main. Harlan probably had a very high handicap.
Yeah, he was a 16. But I was not trying to roll the dice on any 16s.
Dude, I think one of the highest paying out was Cross.
It was Cross.
Cross,
Cross,
Harlan.
Cross.
250 class or 4?
Yeah, there was somebody else in the 250 class that was
Stanford.
Sanford. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, but I mean, Cross, that was his first ever main event.
Yeah, I remember.
First ever AMA points.
Yeah, I remember him at the Futures this year when we were in Salt Lake.
Yeah, I mean, he when he crossed the finish line in the LCQ, he looked like he just won a main event. He was so pumped, which that's cool for me to see, because obviously we have our boys, Cole and Aiden in the pro side, and then, Drew and Carson, obviously in the amateur side, they'll get there one day, but, it was cool to see because that was his first ever main event, and then he goes into the main event, and then he actually scores 19th, so he actually got AMA points.
At A1.
Yeah, I mean, that was cool.
Where did he finish at Futures? Do you know?
He was right there with Aiden.
Yeah, right there around 8.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't win or anything.
5 or
No.
6, I think it was.
Yeah, he battled with Aiden quite a bit.
Okay.
I'm sure Moran's too probably had a high handicap too, or was he?
Not much higher than Starling. I don't think. I think he was maybe 11 or 12.
He was making mains there pretty consistently at the end.
Yeah.
Well, Zacho and I were at the semi this morning when we were at the FTR, and we were kind of doing a recap of the race. And, it's interesting to me to hear my view as being a fan looking at it from the outside in versus Zacho that knows these guys personally, has been through this, running it through his career. But at the same time, TB and Kent, Shane, I want to ask the whole table here some questions.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna start off with who was a letdown at A1 in both classes, 250 and 450. And TB, I'm going to start it with you. If you had one rider that probably had either the least impressive performance or even a personal letdown for you, whether it's a relationship that or not, whatever it may be, one rider in 250, one rider in 450, who would that be for you?
250, I'm gonna go with Faulkner.
Yep.
I mean, he's been in that class going on 7 years now, and you would think that he would have just laid up there for a split second.
It's the exact conversation Zacho and I had this
and
morning.
not, just lay up. You got 20
He was still trying to get the whole shot, and he'd already pinballed off RJ and McAdoo.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I feel like the days are getting numbered for him as far as, keep getting rides and stuff. Last year he got hurt.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I feel like every year he's got hurt.
Yeah.
He's so fast, though, dude.
Yeah.
So fast.
Because I remember at the latter part.
Speed is there.
Oh, yeah.
Consistency's not.
I I remember Gillette last year. I mean, Jet called him and pressured him, and he stayed right in there and won it. And then I think he got hurt first round at outdoors at Paula.
I think he was already hurt from the thing in Dallas. Was it Dallas where they came together on the finish line?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that finished him off outdoors.
And then 450. I'm gonna go with Musquin.
Yeah.
I thought he would have been up there.
Yep.
I feel like he was just kind of there. I think he finished 12th or 13th,
11th,
12th. I thought
12th.
Was it? I'll look it up. Go ahead.
and
I got it.
because I feel like he usually comes out swinging pretty good, and with the whoops being jumpers and a little bit more of a technical track.
Yeah, it was him down to the ground.
P12.
And he was
I thought
good.
he
He was
would've-
good in qualifying too.
Yeah, he
Really
was.
good.
But those are my two for the classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I think those are. I could definitely get on board with both of those. Matter of fact, on the last episode 15, Tyler Kasha, I think, was the only person out of the four of us that were on the last episode, is myself, Shane, Dookie, and Tyler Kasha. Tyler was the only one that put Marv in his top 5 on the 450. And I kind of felt like he could be around that number 5 spot. I thought that was a fairly reasonable pick. So to see him get P12, it was kind of surprising for me. Zach, I'm going to go over and ask you the same thing. Anybody that didn't shine for you, maybe the way they thought, or a letdown?
Kitchen.
Yeah, Levi.
I mean, on Instagram, dude looked unreal.
Yeah.
Going into it, I didn't watch the main either of the mains yet, so I'm just looking off the results page. I don't know if he was started 15th or whatever. And Christian, did he crash or what happened?
He had a big get off in the second practice. He actually did not complete a lap in his second practice.
Oh, really?
He was P5 in qualifying in practice number 1. And the only reason I got this information was our man, Mr. Seth Rarick. But he P5 in lap or practice number 1, goes out for practice number 2, puts on his first lap, his first heater, and just had a big one.
Yeah, that's probably my two. I mean, there weren't any major standouts. You know, not somebody that didn't make the main that should have or whatever. But
Yeah.
I feel like Kitchen is fast enough to win races. Like, he's a good rider, you know.
Well, it is A1. You know, so you got the nerves. You got
But his starts were his issue last year, and I'm assuming that he started not at the front. So
Yeah.
that's not good for me.
Yeah, it was not great. Kent, anything that stands out to you as far as a 250, 450 guy that might have underperformed?
I would say probably. I was hoping to see Styles step up.
Yeah, that was between Styles and Kitchen for me.
Yeah. I mean, I figured.
But
Kid would
Styles
come
had
out
a big
swinging.
one second practice too.
See, I didn't get to watch practice. So
yeah.
That's just. I feel bad. I felt bad for Pierce too. Like, I was hoping big things for him because
Yeah.
I heard he's been in the whole off season and stuff. And it's just such a bummer to see him crash like that. But 450, I'd probably have to go with Christian, but I didn't know he crashed just because of how fast he was going this off season. Dude was ripping.
Yeah.
43 started 11th. Oh, that's the first lap though, so you don't ever know where he was actually.
Yeah.
Shaner?
I think my biggest is is it disappointment?
Either one, like a letdown, you know, something.
Mookie.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because he was like riding phenomenally until he got past, and then he was kind of just like, oh, you know, like he should have. I think he should have won that race. To be honest with you, the way he was riding, but you know, everything that happened with Mookie was like midway through the race, and
Yeah.
you know, maybe he was getting tired or something.
You got to think, though, like it's the first time in a while they've been at this intensity, like first race.
Yes,
So you don't really
yes,
know exactly where you're. I mean, Zach can probably fill in, talk about this. I'm sure it's
And
tough.
with those conditions, that's
the track was
in my
gnarly.
mind. That's worst case, way worse than a full mutter. A full mutter, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
That stuff, when it's like that and the floor is wet, you can just eat it big. You know, you jump in a pocket that you think
pulls
straight
you to the right.
and you got the bike under load, and you're just like left, right,
That
tough
probably
block.
makes your heart rate.
I mean, they were-
up and
Oh,
stuff.
100%.
Everybody was struggling with that.
Yeah.
Like that
in my
zone
opinion.
that they're in
Yeah.
is probably tough to withstand that whole time.
It's
But
hard to not get arm pump in that situation.
I felt like Mookie's been in the game long enough. He could have put his head down a little bit more. And I mean, dude, he needs a win in the 450 class, in my opinion. And
He had it.
I know.
Think he's getting it this year?
I think he will. Yeah,
I mean, he had it right there. I mean, led laps for a while. His speed was good. He looked good. I was super pumped, man. When he was out
He's
front,
in shape.
I was like,
the guy's in shape.
wow, going. But I'm going to give you my 2.
Well, I haven't given my lights yet.
Oh, go. Who's the lights?
I was TB took mine, but
Yeah.
like, come on, man.
Yeah, he did mine too.
Yeah,
That's exactly where I was going. I said that this morning. I've talked to Dookie about it, throughout the day today, and I think Zach, I even mentioned it to you at the semi this morning. Like, we say this saying all the time. You can't win the championship at Anaheim 1, but you can absolutely lose it. And I feel like Faulkner lost.
That's what happened to your fantasy team.
Yeah,
yeah.
I did. It's going to be very hard to recover from that one, but
But I feel like it's like. Are people telling him this? Like, dude, just calm down, like, or whatever? Or is it when the gate drops, he just
I don't know, dude.
loses his mind? I don't know.
It's like TB said, though. You would think with his age and his wisdom, like the years of being in the class, like Zacho, when we were talking this morning and you were on the bike, we said when he went left into RJ, at that point is when he should have checked down. But he continued and then went right and went into the back of McAdoo. And it was like, if you would have checked down at the point and just taken the bad start.
You already got a bad start.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Hey, you haven't watched the motos yet, Zach?
I watched the 4 heat races. I haven't watched the mains.
When you watch the main, watch the 450 start.
Okay.
Same spot as Faulkner. I think it's AC, but like almost the same exact thing happened. Weird. I don't know if almost the same exact thing happened, but watch it. And he swapped his bars back and forth like crazy going down that same exact spot.
Well, I think that's what happened to Coop too, because he was in around the same gate Faulkner was, and you see he locked up with somebody.
Yeah.
He checked up and then just went to the inside.
Those are such split-second decisions, though. Like, we can sit here and say that, but
Yeah, I'm sure it's way different when you're on.
Yeah.
I can't ever relate because I've never done something like that.
but also, like,
It's just one of those
if you
things.
put other guys in that situation, I think it's a different outcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just feel like some of the wisdom and time of riding, should.
He deserves a good season, though. Like, he's been through the ringer the last
A lot.
5 years.
5 years.
We
that-
battled in 18, and I feel like he broke his collarbone in that season, and it's just been like one after the next.
Snowball.
Yeah. It's hard to stop that momentum.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you think about it, he's 30, 40 feet out of the gate in the first round of the season.
Not good.
We really still, at this moment, don't know exactly the extent of the injuries. I mean, but
If any.
It was one of the most violent start straight crashes I've ever
I've
seen.
never seen that before in my
It
life.
like launched.
same thing I said this morning when we were talking about. I've never seen anything like that on the flat
Yeah,
of the start
first
straight.
turn outdoors, big yard, so like that's
Right.
a different deal. But like,
I wonder if his whole shot device was still down when that happened.
well, if you look, like it like knifes.
It
and
knifes
just-
hard.
Yeah, like just the
and,
moment.
and I wonder if it made it knife harder because
Maybe.
his whole shot device was down.
Or maybe
Yeah.
when it knifed, it might have popped it.
It was-
even worse.
And then threw him up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way,
weird.
that would be my lights. I don't want to say let down, but I would, disappointment,
Sucks,
whatever.
yeah.
It is what it
Terrible.
is. I mean, I would say it would be a very close tie between Faulkner, even though I don't know exactly the extent of his injuries, and then Pierce Brown for their starts of their 2 seasons, because I thought both of them were going to do pretty well. I had Pierce Brown as my all-star in the fantasy league, but Pierce, I have heard, is okay. There's nothing wrong. He just, got banged up, and it is what it is. I would say in the 450, and this is probably going to get some controversial remarks on YouTube and Instagram and everything else, but last weekend when we were on the episode 15, specifically with Dookie, because he has an infatuation with Suzuki, there was a lot of hype and talk about Kenny going out there and doing well and, kickstart Kenny and putting, some naysayers to bed by going out and winning A1. And we talked about it a little bit on the last episode. But for me, I would say my biggest letdown in the 450 class was probably Kenny. And the reason why I say that is he started up front. I mean, he was in second, I believe, maybe third, but I'm pretty sure it was second going into the second or third turn. Battled up front there with the Barsha and Tomac thing, and just slowly trickled back and back and back and back.
Second when Barsha crashed, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause Barsha crashed and then Eli. I think Eli went to the front, then Kenny.
yeah. But at the same time, I know he ends up in the overall, I believe P5. But you had Barsha crash out while he was in the lead. You had Malcolm crash out while he was in the lead. You had...
that was after he lost the lead.
No, I'm...
Malcolm.
Oh, it was?
In front of Kenny is what he's saying.
Yeah.
My point is that there was, Barsha went down, Malcolm went down, Anderson went down, I know AP went down at one point before the whoops. I mean, you had multiple guys go down, and he got P5. I believe if those guys don't go down, if the conditions weren't what they were, he probably would have been closer to like a P8.
For me, I agree a little bit, but I know like that's the same condition his other injury happened in at the same stadium. I think that's like a major factor for him.
Mental?
Yeah, mentally.
Yeah, I think he's happy to leave there.
Yeah.
Uninjured from yesterday.
I think he showed a lot of positives on that bike, for sure. And yes, he does have a history on that bike, but how long in the offseason has he actually been on that bike?
Dude, he was
not long at all.
11th hour deal.
That's why I think a top 5's honestly better than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I
just don't think it would have been a top 5 if those guys don't go down, if the conditions were different. I really think it would have been closer to like a
ifs
P8.
and buts for Kenny and Nuts.
That's why I'm saying that. That's
Yeah.
like saying Coop when they got second. If those guys didn't crash, like we don't.
Yeah, I get it. You take what you can get.
I can see Kenny getting 11th last night easier than I can see him winning, just because of the factor, like the whole picture.
Yeah, there's a lot going into that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's roll in. I'm going to do the exact opposite question. So we just talked about the biggest disappointment. A rider in each class, 250 and 450, that would be your most impressive TB.
Go with 250. I'll go with Oldenburg.
Okay.
I think that was good for him.
What did he end up, P4?
Fourth.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think, didn't you have him on our 15
Our
picks?
original one, I picked Oldenburg for top 5.
I'm going to get into those in a second. So Oldenburg, he looked good.
Oh yeah,
strong
I
ride.
know he's been in that class for a while now, but he's got a decent start and stayed up there and steadily went forward.
Chipped him off.
And
yeah.
I mean, just finished top 5. You can obviously build off that for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
450. Man, I'm gonna have to go with my boy Coop, man.
Yeah.
100%. I mean,
agree.
obviously having
I agree.
not a good season last year, and then taking the summer off, and then not having he hasn't really raced since Salt Lake last year.
Yep.
Shoot, you just said he raced the Denver Classic, dude.
Denver Classic.
That's what got him in shape for A1.
I mean, yeah,
Couple of J days.
that's some good training right there.
All those practice nights at Top Gun or whatever that track was.
Top Gun,
Yeah.
MX 221.
Yeah, a lot of summer training over there.
Zacho, what's your thoughts? Most impressive rider in each class?
For me, 250 is RJ.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
of his history, like the whole picture, that's the worst case scenario track wise for RJ, in my opinion.
Yep.
He looked easy, smooth. He had some moments in practice that I didn't like, but for the night show, he was great. He made Jet race him in the heat race, and Jet didn't pass him. And I just like kind of where he's at. I think he's just matured a little bit finally. Not finally, but like he's matured enough to where he can manage the races and manage the people around him. 450, it's kind of a cherry pick, but Eli, new bike, number 1 plate, Anaheim won, all the things, fell down, still won. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Never won that race before.
Yeah.
Last year, P6 or P7 at A1 and comes out there.
And not only fell down, but it wasn't like he got up right away. Like
Yeah.
he was dodging people, and like it took a while. It was impressive.
Kent, what do you think?
250, I'm going to go Enzo Lopes.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I was battle for the win in the heat race almost. Like,
Yeah.
I think he got second in the heat race, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was
And then
fastest
Maine,
in one of his qualifying sessions.
Yeah, and then I think Maney got 6th.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He's one of those guys that if he believed he could win, he could win.
Because the kid's fast.
He's fast.
Yeah.
And then 450, obviously, like Coop did great and stuff, but I'm going to go with Colt Nichols.
Oh, yeah.
P6.
Big turnaround
Quiet
from
P6.
practice.
Did he
was
get
literally
P6?
17th in
Yeah.
practice?
Yeah. He was just off that lead pack, I think,
Really?
at the end of the main.
I like I said, I haven't watched it yet, but
Yeah.
All right. Shaner?
250, I say Voland. I felt like they showed Voland quite a bit, and I was like, he's being a little bit more patient, growing up a little bit, and I think he'll be a podium contender for sure.
a little less body language, which I like.
Yeah.
It used to be a lot.
He's definitely calmed the riding down.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, he was like, I saw a difference in his riding, so I think that was my 250 pick for attaboy, attaboy. I was going to say Hampshire because I was really impressed, but Zach took it. Coop, man.
That was TB.
I don't care, but listen, dude.
No, you guys have nailed down both of mine.
It was weird because he was kind of like obsolete that first half of the race, and that guy just freaking straight up turned it on at the end. That's awesome, for sure, Coop. That was exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I am with both of you. RJ Hampshire is my lights. So Jet's gonna jet, and Jet had a great race, and I'm not going to take anything away from Jet, but I think everybody expected that of Jet.
Of course. On
RJ's standpoint, we all know his history. So the guy, consistency. I think you brought it up on the last episode. You never know if he's actually going to get there or finish it out or do whatever it may be. But I think his podium interview was exactly what I was thinking in my mind. When he gets up there and says, that was probably the best main event that I've put together under these conditions, to go through the race and do what he did. To me, speed-wise, not a great start. Got into it with Faulkner on the start. Comes out.
He passed McAdoo easy.
Yeah, and I mean, you chip through the pack, past McAdoo, and then once he got into second, if you look at his lap times with Jet, they were right on.
Yeah,
so
stayed like 5-6 seconds.
I feel like RJ back in the day would have seen him out there and just sent it.
Yeah, he would have been going for gold.
Yeah, he would have just but since he took second, I mean, that's what you got to do on some of those nights.
And he probably would have passed Jet and then crashed.
Sat in the stands, probably.
Yeah.
Bless him.
Bless his heart.
But I do think that in my mind, and I actually talked with RJ this morning. I sent him a text. I think that was a standout moment for him. It speaks about his character, what they're doing at the Baker factory. So good for RJ in the lights. I think in the big bike, it would have to be Coop. And I'm again, same concept, not knocking RJ, not knocking Coop, but when you look at the previous season for Coop, I know there were struggles with the bike. I almost feel like he self-admitted it. Kent, when we were talking about his press conference, I'm the washed up guy. I think people were kind of writing him off.
When he said that in the press conference, I was like, all right, he's in a good place. Because anytime he's talking like that, he's got something to prove. So when I heard him say that, I knew it was going to be all right.
And I think he did.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, for me, I think his 450, ride yesterday was probably the most impressive for me outside of Tomac. But again, just like with Jet, you expect Jet to do that after the year that Jet has had with Supercross and outdoor titles, with Tomac with indoor and outdoor titles last year. You kind of expect them to do that. And I felt like there was a moment in the race where Tomac and Chase were 1-2, and it was like, okay, here we go. It's all over again. This is the same thing. We're going to see the same thing. But with Coop, we didn't see the same thing. We saw some struggles last year with the bike and his races and whatever, and I felt like the most impressive ride for me in the 450 was definitely Coop.
There was a lot of bad momentum there to swing the juju back this way, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think it was good.
They're going to have to, I don't know, they or the riders themselves are going to have to figure out how to get those bikes off the line.
The KTM?
Yeah.
Really? I don't know that I guess I haven't really noticed it starting that bad.
I don't know.
I think it was him, honestly.
I'm talking about all three of them. All three KTMs.
Start though. Mookie had a good start.
We're talking. All right. Well, I forgot about Husky, dude.
Yeah.
And I think so for.
Well, all right. Then it's the riders. They need to get better starts.
Coop locked bars with whoever was next to him. I think Eli. Yeah. And they did the same. Almost. He checked up though instead of, locking bars. And
I knew Coop was going to be just fine after I saw him mess with Kenny in the heat race.
Yeah.
Coop don't give a crap about a heat race.
No. Because what they say, heat races don't pay. So.
Yeah. No points or prize money in the heat race.
Exactly. That's what he always says. And you'll get paid to win practice. So
I think so too for Coop. Looking back, I think he's been in a situation similar to this where he had a bad year, comes out swinging. Because his first 2 years at Factory Yamaha were obviously not what he signed up for. He wasn't that hot, and then he goes to KTM, and that first season he wins the championship in 19. So I feel like, you know, he's been in that situation before, and he doesn't let him knock him per se. And I think that showed last night. I mean, he was 10th on the first lap, and then just stayed on it.
Like I told you, we were watching the heat race last night, and I told him, I said, he's cutting down low in the turns, like looking racy. I said, he'll be fine for the main event. And luckily I fell asleep, didn't watch it till this morning, but luckily I was called that one right, so it's good.
Well, I want to look back at our episode 15 picks. So last week we did top 3 only in the 250, and then we did top 5 in the 450. And even though Dookie was on last week's episode, he's not on this one, and even Tyler Kasha as well. Shane, you picked Pierce Brown as number 1.
Yep.
Oldenburg, and then Jet. That was your top 3.
Yep.
So obviously Pierce didn't even make the main because of his crash in the heat race. Oldenburg gets 4th. Jet wins. We're giving you a total of 30 points because a DNF is 25. Then we have Dookie, who had Jet first, which obviously that's a 1. That's good. McAdoo was his second place rider who got 3rd. And then he didn't even give us a name. He just said a star bike, which is...
It doesn't count.
Yeah, it really doesn't, but we're going to give it to him anyway because the highest finishing star bike was 7th. I think that was Levi.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Kasha had Jet as number 1. He had a star bike as number 2. Again, cheating because there's 2 star bikes on the track. And then RJ Hampshire was his 3rd pick, who ended up getting 2nd. So we're going to give him a total of 10 points. And then myself, and anybody can go back to episode 15 and listen. My pick for 250s was Jet, RJ, McAdoo in that order. And that's exactly how they finished. 1, 2, 3. So I definitely win on the 250 side. But then I have a complete meltdown on the 450 side because I went ET, which, yes, he did win. So that's a great pick. And then I had Chase Sexton, Justin Barsha, Malcolm Stewart, Christian Craig. So my number 3, 4, and 5 absolutely demolished me on our picks on last episode. Shane, you had Kenny.
Well, I was excited. I got excited.
You had Kenny as number 1. You had Dylan Ferrandis as 2. You had Jason Anderson, Cooper Webb, and Chase Sexton. So you ended up getting 21 points in the 450 class. Tyler Kasha had Adam Cincerillo because, as we talked about in the last episode, is this what you want to see, what you would be excited to see, or is this what you really think is going to happen? So I think he went with the approach of this is what would be really cool to see. And he had AC9, Kenny, Dylan Ferrandis, Chase Sexton, and Marvin Muscan. So he got 33 points. And then Dookie wins the 450 class because he had Chase Sexton, Jason Anderson, Ken Roxon, Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb. So all of his guys were essentially within the top 7, and he gets 18 points. So when you put the 2 together, the 250 and the 450 that we picked on episode number 15, I am the worst because of my Malcolm Stewart DNF. I got 56 points. Shane, you were second to last with 51 points. Tyler Kasha would have been 3rd to last with 43 points, and Dave Dookie would have won on our episode picks. Not our fantasy picks, but our episode picks.
So there wasn't any money on this then?
There was not. No, we put the money on the fantasy side. But now that we are here,
you're lucky, Zaka.
Anaheim 1 is over. The boys go to Oakland.
We're not doing this again, are we?
We absolutely are right now.
I'm trying to erase this weekend from my memory, actually.
I don't make picks.
Oh, man.
Don't do it.
How are we going to do this?
No, we're not, because
people.
I'm literally trying to erase this weekend from my memory.
Ken's just trying to keep his job.
You beat me?
Exactly.
Hey, RJ, you beat me at the race.
Coop on there 5
You beat me at the Pulp Fantasy, and you beat me at those picks.
No, you beat me.
I have 3 losses this week.
No, you beat me at that one. I got last on the episode.
No, I'm talking about the lights.
The lights, yeah, but not the overall.
You did whole shot him though yesterday. So we'll
all right. So without giving me picks, because we're in fear of losing our job, let's talk about Oakland next weekend. With what we've seen at A1,
21 rebounds, big fashion.
You think so?
Yeah, I wasn't.
Got to. Do or die. Either way, he has to.
I feel like 28 has to.
Not a championship factor in my opinion, but Jason, I feel was maybe gonna be
Championship player.
has to fix it now.
Okay.
I don't feel like you want definitely Eli, Coop, and Sexton to keep that
Hell
momentum
no.
going for a championship run because those three are probably. I mean, look what Chase did outdoors. He was unreal. So, once they get that confidence, those top three break away. I mean, Jason's gonna have to be there to.
If he wants to be in it, he's going to have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like looking at the race this weekend with Anaheim 1, I feel there is a separating gap between those three from the rest of the field after A1, which I know it's only A1. There's a lot of different factors in A1. The track was a factor. You know, A1 jitters are a factor. You know, I think Malcolm's speed was there. You know, Barsha had the start. Don't know if he would have stayed there or not. But there's a lot of different factors involved in that. But I feel like the cream always rises to the top.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
In any condition, everybody has to ride the same track. And those three rose to the occasion. I think, in my mind,
They are the cream, though.
I am the cream, yeah. The cream of the crop.
yeah. So if anybody else is going to try and join that
ASAP.
pot, they're going to have to do it quickly.
Because I feel like confidence with those three is insane.
Especially Coop. Coop's a confidence guy.
Yeah, he's a mental guy, and I think that if anybody out of the A1 or A1 race, you know, A1 round, dude, Eli. I mean, getting up there, crashing, going back, and passing them all over again.
Especially in the beginning of the season.
Coop's the big winner from Anaheim, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's
Get
Coop.
that monkey
I think
off
it's
his
Coop.
back like right off the bat.
I think it's Coop and Eli.
Don't even worry about the win. The win's going to come when it goes east.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's both of them, honestly. I think the two biggest takeaways that I have would
I mean, Eli's never won A1, right? Until this is the first one, and then
Yeah.
especially
I think last year he got 6.
6 or 7. Yeah.
6 or 7.
And I mean, for a star to have those new bikes dialed in that quick,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
impressive too.
I believe they made a segment on the show where Tomac was considering retirement.
Yeah.
And
I did hear that.
He
Yeah.
said the deciding factor is going to be this 23 bike. And the 23 bike, he went out and rode it, and he came back in. He was like, "I'm in. I'll do it."
It's good. I rode it last week at the Yamaha shop, and it is sick.
I agree with Zach, though. I think 21's got to at least put her on the podium next weekend.
Stop the bleeding already.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Those are the big four, in my opinion.
See, I don't know, man. I don't consider the 21 in my championship hunt.
Bro, he won 7
Dude.
races last year, 4 in a row at the end. He's already a
I mean, he
Supercross
took it to
champion.
all the way to the last round last
Yeah.
year, I think.
He's for real.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not for real.
He had a bad night, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I mean, it
His
is what it
practice
is.
crash could have been like 50 times worse in 50
Yeah.
different ways. Kind of got lucky there.
Anything that stands out as far as the lights for next weekend in Oakland? I mean, you know, Jet's going to jet. You think?
I think it's going to rain all week there from the report I saw.
Yeah. That could be a game changer.
Especially in the lights class, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, the rain, that could mix it up big time.
TB, anything that stands out for Oakland?
I mean, if it's going to be a mutter, that will definitely change some things up, especially in the lights class. I feel like 450 though, I'm going to have to go with Zach with Anderson. I mean, last season he was a contender at the end and was having a very bad Anaheim one. He's going to have to bounce back, but it can be done though. I mean, I remember Villapoto won the title in 13 and he finished 13th or 14th at A1 that year.
Did you
It can work. It can happen.
Did you feel anything as far as Sexton goes?
I've seen Chase ride a lot, and I think that was very medium, a very easy ride for him.
Like conservative? Yeah.
Extremely.
I think he matured a lot, matured some during the off season with the track getting that squirrely and him getting, caught and passed. I mean, there was a few times he was a little squirrely, but, we saw it last year happen a few times with him crashing. I think he just laid up and just took third and got out of there safe.
Yeah, that's a big play. In my opinion, that's a big step for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I know he's going to be fast.
Oh, yeah.
And I know he's going to be there all year long. I did feel like at a certain point I was thinking there might be a little bit more of a battle from him, a little bit more bite, But like you said,
But last year he doesn't. He goes for it.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
We'll see. I mean, I thought it was good, but looking at Oakland, for me, I do think that, RJ had the standout ride, in my opinion. I know Jet was expected to do what he did, and he did well. I think RJ did well. I would look to see them continue that path. It would be interesting to see if Pierce is not too banged up from his Heat 2 crash, how he does throughout the week and how he does at Oakland. I think that was one that we all talked about in the last episode was Pierce and, that gas bike. I mean, I think he can go good.
If it's a mud race, who knows?
Well,
In the lights class.
it
I
may-
don't know if
it-
any
it-
of those guys are good mud riders.
It may be, it may not be, But either way, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the whole season. Obviously, it's exciting to get there. The fantasy thing, we'll try and do a better job, Shane.
Oh, trust me. I know what I'm doing next Saturday.
Zacho's got a big lead on us right now.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get
The rest of the boys too. I mean, old Ryan Sipes and Justin, old Pooh Bear, they didn't have that great of a weekend.
Well,
I got
no
lucky.
kidding.
Yeah, well, I get that too.
Yeah.
But
It's hard to
I got
pay
lucky.
attention.
yeah, I just got to go with the Zacho motto. We'll just send it.
Just send it.
No, did you not see my tweet yesterday? I will not take the bait on the big points, guys. I will not take the bait on the big points, guys.
Which is true.
And
And
I
I
did.
don't think it's
As far as the
a handicap.
handicaps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about A-Ray? What was his handicap? He literally missed it by one.
16 for fifth, and I think he got fifth.
Fifth in LCQ, yeah. So that would have been a risky one.
What was
But I wasn't trying to play with that.
Yeah.
My biggest handicap was Starling at 9, and I felt pretty good about that.
Starling's solid though.
What did he
He's-
end up? 15th, 16th?
I don't know. He was 9th in the heat, though. That's
He
all that
he
matters.
hasn't watched the mains yet.
Oh, okay.
He just knows what fantasy got him.
Yeah, Starling Florida boy, man.
Yeah.
That's not a bad pick. I went with
He was
Chiz.
18th with a 9 handicap, was double points 9, which isn't that great. That's what I said. My 450 picks were really not great at all.
I mean, I went with Chiz, because I thought Chiz was going to Chiz and didn't look at social media all
He
day.
told you he wasn't going to chiz.
Yeah, except for I didn't look at it.
Did he even try to line up,
He rode practice.
but never tried to race?
I don't know. I didn't.
See, I don't ever remember.
I thought he might have had. I thought he might have had a get off.
Because I feel like Chiz could not eat for 3 days and be half
Chiz?
dead and still make the main event. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He'd
'Cause that's
still be
Chiz.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the LCQ?
Yeah.
Did you see the 250 class where
Carnage.
Masterpool had the lead and then let it go, and then the guy that got into second tried to quad out of that rhythm into the left-hander and
Frame case.
went
into the net?
nose wheelied into the net.
It was literally every typical 250 LCQ you're ever going to get. Like
Those are my favorite races to watch.
100%.
I'm gonna send that to the boys and say, listen, watch this. Because if he was in second. Like, you don't have to send it, man. Just settle in, find a good rhythm that you can, get around and be aggressive on a rhythm that's safe and easy and tame, and get through it, and you're in. You're done. And he was trying to go for it, and I'm
Yeah, it's not like your gate pick for winning the LCQ is going to be any better than getting fourth in the LCQ.
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. You're on the gate. Like, you know what I mean? Just make the main.
Well, Zacho, one of my final questions before we wrap up the episode, with you and your experience in racing and the career that you've had, for us with the Future Motocross, with the team, we're trying to help transition amateur riders into the pro rank, and then what they do with that, that's on them. We're just trying to give them the best opportunity. Is there any advice for a family member, whether it's an FTR rider that's just starting out, or whether it's a motocross rider that's, starting out, or maybe even a little bit advanced, any advice that you could give to them as, keep on the grind or stay in school? I mean, anything that you could give advice-wise.
Man, as cliche as it sounds, like, you started for fun, and keeping it fun is the main thing. Like, I still enjoy riding dirt bikes. I enjoy riding dirt bikes now more than I ever have, to be honest with you. And when I'm having fun, that's when things go good. That's when the results come. That's when it's all, it's all clicking. So, like I said, as cliche as it is, keeping it fun is the key. Like,
Sure.
to it all for me. You know, I love going to crew and riding. I love to ride. Like, that's why I started, and that's why I'm still riding. And I think that when that's lost, yeah, sure, there's some situations when you're battling for championships at the highest level where it's a different kind of fun, if you can even call it that. A lot of stress.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, you got to remember why you started. And, you know, there were a lot of times where I was extremely frustrated or down and out. And my wife reminded me, like, you dreamed of this. Like, it's what you wanted.
Yeah.
Factory ride in 450 class.
Yep.
You're right. So, you know, the fun aspect is the main key to it all.
Yeah. TB, I'm going to bounce over and ask you a very similar situation with going to race the FTR yesterday. Does that revitalize any of the fun of the sport and riding dirt bikes, you know, to be able to go do the trail riding and just getting back on a bike and go have some fun with it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like I haven't had that much fun since racing a 50.
Yeah.
Cathy's Creek.
Yeah, boy.
Kathy's Creek.
First time seeing Zach
You ever
at
been
Cathy's Creek.
They talk about it all the time.
Kathy's Creek. That was the
It was
spot.
fun, though, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all have a competitive spirit because, I mean, in any sport or anything you do as a kid growing up, you're going to have that competitive, you know, niche or spirit. But I went to the line. I was a little nervous, but I was like, hey, you know, that kind of reminds me, you know, like I do want to kind of win.
Yeah.
He did tell me he didn't sleep very good the night before. He did say that. I know he probably won't admit it, but
Nice.
even Pacone on the line, he was like, man, I'm not really trying to take this race serious. And I'm like,
yeah, Pacone said he didn't want to leave.
Happen,
Yeah, and then the flag dropped.
Yeah.
But keeping it fun, I mean, that's the main thing.
Keeping it local, TB.
Keeping it local.
Keeping it local.
But, you know, I mean, I know Zach could attest to this too. When like him and I were growing up, you know, there was a lot of kids that, I mean, very, very strict and very, very rigid, you know. And I think by the time some of those kids went pro, they were already out of
Fried.
it, burned out.
Yeah.
And I mean, they laid up when they went pro, and you know, obviously fizzled out.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing for, you know, the young kids and the families to remember is just to keep it fun.
Yeah.
Fun. The money will come eventually.
Yeah. I could agree with that completely. I mean, you see some of these people right now that are putting everything into it, you know, I mean, living at compounds and motorhomes, whatever it may be, and they're investing the whole thing in there and making it such a serious environment. You know, they're putting all their eggs into one basket. But Kent, you got to travel around the summertime. You got to go to some of these races. I mean, anything.
Yeah, I didn't have any fun at all this summer. I'll tell you that. Yeah. No, it was actually probably one of the best summers I've ever had.
Yeah.
Doing this, like it was.
Yeah.
Great time.
It's cool to travel around and do all that stuff. And then even Shaner too. I mean, you were in the industry for almost 15 years or at 15 years plus, and you know, being able to get back into it in a bit with doing the podcast and the YouTube channel and going racing FTRs. I mean, got you right back in it.
I didn't miss the pain of riding the FTR, but no, it's still fun. Actually, it wasn't that painful yesterday compared to the last one. So
I think it was.
TB said the same thing as he's crawling out of the bushes when you cleaned him out.
Yeah, I was just out there hurting other people.
Yeah, the Punisher.
No, like it's fun, and like honestly, yesterday we had a good group, man. There was just like it was just like all us buddies and just hanging out. You know, it was fun.
That's the best thing about the FTR. Is like
That's the difference.
you can walk to any pit. I swear you can walk to any pit and just hang out with them.
Open arms.
Yeah, it's like just one giant family.
No beef.
No beef. Yeah,
We
Same
did
as
it.
Supercross.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, we all hang out at different semis and stuff.
I mean,
The
I
vibes are great.
used to do that. Like I didn't care.
Yeah, on Thursdays.
No, on Saturdays I'd be all up in the Cowie truck. What's up, boys? You know.
Yeah, when Chad was riding cowies.
Yeah,
What's up, boys?
yeah.
You got any
getting
parts?
How many sets of forks do you have in here?
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that, with the FTR comment about the pit area and the camaraderie that it gives you, and sitting around the campfire telling lies about how fast you weren't. You know, that's all part of it, and I enjoy that aspect of it. But I think the general consistency there is, you know, making sure everybody keeps it fun and understand, you know, being family oriented and getting through the races and having a good time. But I do want to take a quick second here before we wrap up the episode. A huge thanks to Mr. Matt Bell with HBI Racing and HBI Tax. Everything they do for us as far as the team and the racing goes. Again, the same thing with our YouTube channels is, you know, trying to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube, because we thoroughly need those subscribers and views and watch time, and follow us on our Instagram and TikToks, Facebook, every different platform and channel that we have. Zacho, how do people get to follow you online to follow this journey on the GNCC?
Instagram is the main thing, or Twitter. Both are at Zacho_16.
Zacho.
He responds to everyone's messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I legit try to. I don't.
No, I remember that back in the day. You would take time to respond to fans' messages and stuff.
I try hard.
That's huge. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, I greatly appreciate everybody listening to the episode. Zacho, Austin Kent, Tyler Bright, Sugar Shane. I'm your host, RJ Huss. We thank you guys all for listening to episode number 16. We greatly appreciate you. We hope that you continue to listen to the episodes and enjoy us. Make sure you follow us on all those different platforms that we just talked about. Shane, what time is it?
Hit it, RJ.